is done. Suckers!
Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Leaf. Coming to you live once again from the heart of the Lone Star State, it's the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. Tonight, the boys pull on their boots and grease up their cowboy hats. Is that really a thing? As they discuss the 2015 Western Kill or Be Killed while smoking the powerful Jacob's Ladder cigar from Southern Draw, paired with the tasty Pine Belt Pale Ale from Southern Star Brewery. I reckon our boys are going to have more fun tonight than three heterosexual cowpokes spooning tenderly around a campfire. Wait, is that a thing? I'm so confused, partners. Maybe I've been out here in California too long. Or not long enough. Anywho, sit back, folks, light 'em up, and enjoy the show.
So guys, I've been working on a few new characters for the show. Spice things up. You want to take them for a test run?
Sure.
Tut, you want to take them for a test run?
You sure?
All right.
Spice it up.
First up, I've cooked up this kind of lovable country bumpkin who says things like this is an example. If you've ever woke up under a park bench clenching an empty bottle of Kiwi Lime Mad Dog 2020, and you're on top of a fully clothed and terribly confused Asian woman of unknown origins, guess what? You might be a member of the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. What do you think? How about this one? Hold on. If your wife has ever caught you taking a dump on the side of the house at 3 in the morning and your drunk excuse was you didn't want to wake up the cats, you might be a member of the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. What do y'all think of that guy?
Foxworthy. Jeff Foxworthy. That's exactly what he did.
I hadn't thought of a name for him. He was just kind of...
No, that's... Literally, you just did it in his voice. That's what he does. That's all he does.
Oh, it's an actual guy out there that talks like that. Like a friend of yours?
No, he's a comedian. That's what he does.
Oh, like other people know about him.
Right.
All right. Well, I got another guy, another character. I call him Cigar Reviewer who only describes cigars as if he's answering a puzzle on Wheel of Fortune. I got to work on the name. It's kind of long. Tut, ask me to describe the cold draw of tonight's cigar.
Describe the cold draw of tonight's cigar.
A faint aroma of bread with raisin-like sweetness. It's like he's on Wheel of Fortune. Hold on. Ask me to describe the cigar's flavor.
Son of a bitch.
Describe the cigar's flavor.
Woodsy notes of cedar with a slight hint of roasted coffee beans. Wait. You can hear that music, can't you? Do 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 do.
I hate him.
You hate that character, huh?
I absolutely hate him. Just 100%.
I worked really hard on him.
I'm just saying, you son of a bitch. Some things are said in confident, and then you go in a...
You were on Wheel of Fortune?
Yes, I was on. That's what I was talking about, the Wheel of Fortune bit.
Hate that guy. Maybe he hates you too, Buttface. Sorry.
Possibly.
I didn't mean that. I just worked really hard on these characters, trying to add some new blood to the show. I guess I'll stick to being me. Look how far that's got us.
Come on, man. It's not that bad.
If you've ever peed yourself while squirting nacho cheese on a 7-Eleven Big Bite hot dog at 3 in the morning, you might be a member of the Tuesday Night Cigar Club.
Come on, man.
It's
said in confidence, and you're just freaking telling these stories.
Remember when we crashed at Tut's?
No.
I may have stolen his diary.
I don't.
Still no.
Still no.
Fine. You know, people thought Elon Musk and Steve Jobs were, their ideas were lame at first, too. Think about that. Just saying.
I'll keep that in mind.
Welcome everybody to Tuesday Night Cigar Club, episode 63.
We're gonna have a good time.
I really thought Wheel of Fortune guy was going to go over better.
No. I hate Wheel of Fortune guy.
Ugh. Apparently. Welcome everybody. It's going to be a fun show tonight. A Southern show. We got a Southern cigar. We got a Southern beer. We got a Southern movie. I tried to replace you tonight with Trace Adkins, but
why not? He's doing everything else he can get his hands on.
You know, it's funny, when I was looking for movies tonight, Netflix has like 12 westerns featuring Trace Adkins.
I know. And then he was on like Megyn Kelly or something. It's just, that dude's everywhere now.
It's weird though. He'd rob banks, but he would be so easy to catch because he'd be riding away on one of those Case tractors.
So slow.
So slow.
We just robbed a bank here.
It's slow, but it's reliable.
For some reason, I just imagine him like sitting on top like this fake horse, and he's just rolling through different sets, and they just keep filming while he does whatever he's doing.
Well, I think it's safe to say we don't know the first thing about Trace Adkins.
Oh, I do. I saw that horrible Hitchcock movie with the Hemsworth brother on Netflix. I swear it's like Chris Hemsworth, Thor, his brother, does a movie called Hitchcock about Wild Bill Hitchcock.
The one from Expendables.
That was one of the movies.
Dude.
That was one of the movies I was looking at. Wild Bill Hitchcock. Woo! Trace is in that one, huh?
Oh yeah. I'm in Hitchcock.
I'm not Trace Adkins in this movie. I play a character who talks just like Trace Adkins and looks just like Trace Adkins.
And his name is Trace Adkins.
And by the way, my character's name is Trace Adkins. Do you guys like when I do the Trace Adkins voice?
Actually, that's pretty good.
Is that pretty good? Yeah. What if Trace Adkins, guy, cigar reviewer who talks like Trace Adkins and answers everything like he's on Wheel of Fortune?
There might be possibilities.
I can't.
Wait, did you say Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy?
I can't wing that. I've got a Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
Because they have to say it exactly how it's on the board, or else if they screw up even a syllable, Pat gives them the dinger and they're out of there.
Wait, Pat gives them the dinger? I'm sorry, and I am resigning immediately. Another one falls.
Give you the dinger later.
I get the feeling that allegations are forthcoming.
Speaking of allegations, we've been talking a lot about last few shows about the current wave of sexual harassment and assault allegations sweeping through the entertainment industry.
Who got fired today?
Just yesterday, I thought about last show, us all saying, like, who's the craziest person you could think of that this would happen to? And if I had done that, this is the man I would have said. Yesterday, one of my childhood heroes, Garrison Keillor, 75-year-old Garrison Keillor of Prairie Home Companion fame, was kicked off of Minnesota Public Radio after he was accused of touching a woman's bare back inappropriately. Apparently he was consoling her, and when he put his arm around her, he said it accidentally went up her shirt.
Accidentally.
And he apologized. Was this like 1975 or something? It was like a long time ago.
Oh, was it?
And he said he was sorry, and she accepted his apology, and he thought it was a done deal. Garrison fucking Keillor, man.
I do love his line because it is the perfect Garrison Keillor getting fired interview line. When they asked him about it, he goes, yes, I thought we were friends right up until I heard from her lawyer. It sounds like that should be on Prairie Home.
It was a crisp autumn day as I strolled into Benny's General Store, an ice cream sundae depository. And speaking of deposits, when I saw old Mabel bending over the soda fountain station, I wanted to make a deposit myself.
By the way, this latest sexual harassment issue is brought to you by the Ketchup Advisory Board. The good folks.
I uncaged my Lake Wobegon trouser snake, and it'll take a minute for powder milk biscuits.
Have you some powdered milk?
Garrison Keillor, give me... Well, you know...
I didn't realize it was all the way back in the 70s. I thought it was actually...
I could be off on that, but
I actually thought it was like recent.
I don't believe it was recent. I could be way off on that. I obviously drank a lot last night trying to...
Well, I will say this, because I am a big Garrison Keillor fan.
Oh, my youth was Garrison Keillor, and then when I got into my high school and stuff, it was David Letterman. With that guy, he was
If you've read the
Doing all sorts
books,
of
though,
stuff.
even listen to Garrison Keillor interviews about the 70s, it was a very loose stage. It was a very loose backstage.
That back scene, behind the scenes of the Minnesota Public Radio is just a fuck fest. It's just an orgy of
It's
writhing bodies.
depending on the memoir, you might not be that far off.
Well,
It's kind of like I was telling my wife, I was like, I don't think that this is the incident that should have fired him, but if it wasn't this incident, there might have been a few others.
yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for him to just come out and do his, reading of his memoirs. And I was tripping balls behind the set.
I'm sorry, Garrison Keillor. I love you, man. I love you.
Right now, I have no idea where I am.
I did 3 lines of coke with Geddy Lee before the band took the stage. Well, look,
It was a cold day.
but here's
and
what kills
John
me.
Lennon-
I mean, I don't know what she said he did. All I know is what he said he
No,
did.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
But they're not even playing his reruns. They've completely wiped how many years of Prairie Home Companion? They're not playing any of it. It's gone.
Oh man.
Well, that's not the craziest.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. You took Guy Noir away from me, and that pisses me off. I loved Guy Noir,
Is that a cologne?
the private detective.
Oh,
It was a dark and stormy night on the.
I haven't. I haven't listened to it since I was a kid.
Dude, I listen to it like every other Sunday.
Oh, well,
I love Garrison Keillor. I love
Yeah.
Prairie Home Companion.
there you go. You got an old fan and a new fan.
No, I've been an old fan since like the 80s.
Oh,
No, because they used to broadcast it on the Disney Channel, and I was one of the cool kids that got Disney Channel.
I never had cable. See, that's why. Well, look, that wasn't even the craziest story this week, as far as all this nonsense. This week, 92-year-old bag of bones Angela Lansbury had this to say to Radio Times when discussing this issue. Did you hear this?
Yes, yes.
Go on with this. Tell me more.
Here's her quote. There are 2 sides. Should I talk in an old English lady
There are
voice?
2 sides.
There are
Bobby.
2 sides to this coin, she said. We have to own up to the fact that women, since time immemorial, have gone out of their way to make themselves attractive. And unfortunately, it has backfired on us, and this is where we are today. We must sometimes take blame, us women. I really do think that. Although it's awful to say we can't make ourselves look as attractive as possible without being knocked down and raped. Well, Dame Angela Lansbury, whatever the hell that means, welcome to the TNCC banned list.
No,
She's banned.
no, come on.
She's banned.
Come on,
Angela
man.
Lansbury? We cannot ban Angela
We're
Banned.
we're not banning Angela Lansbury.
She's banned.
No.
I don't care how beautiful or attractive a female is, how she wears her makeup, how low cut her dress is. Men, M-E-N, need to keep their dicks in their pants. Period. That's where the blame goes. All of it, the men. It rests squarely on their penis heads. Well, not on their actual penis heads. Can I
penis head square?
Can
I'm
I
confused.
Can I say that? Wheel of Fortune guy.
My
Rests
penis head
squarely on their penis heads. That's how Wheel of Fortune guy would say that.
And then he would come in and go, no, that's incorrect. You're out.
I'm just saying.
But penis heads aren't square,
Now
okay?
Vanna White just said you touched her inappropriately. You're out of here.
You've got Dame Angela Lansbury basically saying, you asked for it, bitches. You shouldn't have worn those short little skirts. Which, by the way, if you look at some of the...
She's 90 fucking years
to
old,
the 60s
man.
and 70s, she was wearing some stuff herself.
Come on.
What's next? Wilford Brimley going to blame his diabetes on childhood vaccines?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you're going to get outraged at Angela Lansbury, then you need to be outraged at every fucking 90-year-old out there. You've all got the crazy 90-year-old racist grandparents. You've all got the crazy homophobic racist grandparents.
I just got an alert. Judi Dench has just been seen at a military funeral holding up a God's hates fag sign. Oh wait, no, none of these things would ever happen. Or I guess they could now. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket.
just-
Get the fuck out of here,
People
Angela
get so fucking
Lansbury.
outraged. I mean, you're going to shit over Angela Lansbury. Come on.
She's a disgrace. Get her out of my face.
We're not banning Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, we are. She's done.
She's a woman. She can talk on this subject.
Sweet, lovable Angela
I'm not saying she
Lansbury?
can't talk.
She can talk.
I'm fucking watching Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, and there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Murder, She Wrote?
The Magnum crossover Murder, She Wrote? I'm watching that. You're not taking that away from me.
You realize when I ban things, that doesn't mean you guys can't watch them at your houses.
Ketchup.
You're basically saying that's it. It's done. We're done. No
Wait,
more.
I really don't think...
No. That's the double standard. You're banning Angela Lansbury, who just talked about it, but you're not banning Garrison Keillor, who actually put his hand up some little person's skirt?
He says it was an accident.
Of course it was.
It wasn't a skirt. It was just the back of her billowing blouse.
Well,
it was a cold day, and I was trying to comfort her.
A crisp April breeze blew through Benny's General Store.
Oh man!
All right. Well, we're in agreement. I know it always comes to a vote. We all agree Angela Lansbury's toast.
No, we're not. And my official statement is I'm processing and no comment.
I guess we can still do all those Angela Lansbury guys. I didn't know you guys were such huge fans of Angela Lansbury.
Magnum PI crossover, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks. Come
you know who
on.
Angela Lansbury isn't a fan of? Equal rights for women. She wants everybody in a burqa.
I don't know where.
I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Well, she did clarify at the end, but I do feel bad that you can't get dressed up without getting raped. I do feel bad about that. But you shouldn't be dressing like that anyway, you little hoochies. That's what she said. It's like, who asked her anyway? She's like,
apparently somebody did.
Yeah.
Hey, we have this fossil in here talking about her stage production of some nobody
Because
gives a
that's
shit
no,
play.
I'm sorry, because that's what the freaking salacious media does. They're like, dude, find me the old 90-year-old person because they're going to say some outlandish shit. Let's get them on here.
She was in a she was doing an interview. She was in a stage production of Titanic. She was playing the iceberg.
Yeah.
You got to get us some sound effects in here, man. That's a rim shot if I ever heard one.
I don't know what's sexist or not anymore.
So
can I not say
push
that?
buttons and make random sound
Can I not
noises.
say that? All right. Well, you guys want to talk about a cigar?
I'm still
You've been
processing.
butt-slammed.
Tonight we're smoking the Lansbury from... no, of
The
course
now
not.
banned Lansbury.
No.
Not and Lansbury. Banned Lansbury.
Well, let's go from the snooty English Angela Lansbury to the southern, warm, friendly, southern draw Jacob's Ladder.
This is the Southern Draw Jacob's Ladder. It's a cigar company.
You sound like Forrest Gump. That doesn't sound southern.
No, if you've ever watched the Ken Burns Southern Civil War documentary.
You got to stop.
Then
I
you'll
promise I won't do
understand.
Wheel of Fortune guy anymore if you stop doing that.
But I love the Ken Burns guy. How come you get to do Will Fortune guy and I can't do Ken Burns guy?
I said I'd stop. You heard me. We made a
He
deal.
didn't say he would stop.
And you kind of nodded.
Yeah,
It's a,
I'm still waiting.
Wait, laughing in the.
Stop.
I'm wearing a cowboy hat. Every head movement is exaggerated.
everything looks like I'm nodding yes. This is made by the fine folks, the Holt family over at Southern Draw.
Southern Draw.
We've only done one of theirs
The Rose of Sharon?
in 3 years. Yeah, we did the Rose of Sharon, which, as I'm revisiting my favorite cigars of the year, it's right up there.
It is great. It's a good cigar.
It's a really good cigar. They had two big.
Interesting because my second cigar for the night is also a Southern Draw
What you got?
Kudzu.
Kudzu.
box press.
These two big releases this year: the Rose of Sharon, Connecticut, which is far more than your usual Connecticut, and this bad boy, the Jacob's Ladder. Their first, it's kind of being billed as their first full body, full flavored cigar.
Hang on one second. Can I tell a story?
This
We'll go
is
with it.
always risky, but sure.
Okay, so we are sitting there at Cats Fest in San Antonio, Texas, and
Keep in mind, Robert told us some of these stories in confidence. You might want to think a minute.
now I can't tell my story. Carry on.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, so we're sitting there talking with Robert Holt. Awesome guy. If you ever get the chance to talk with him one-on-one. Also, his wife Sharon is very lovely as well.
Phenomenal.
So we're talking cigars with Robert, and I'm telling him that I really love the Ligero. I'm just a fan of Ligero tobacco, the part of the leaf. And so he was like, "Oh, you're a Ligero fan, huh? How'd you know that?" And I was like, "Well, I went to a James Brown
That'd be kind of a dick
session."
if you said it like that. Obviously, Robert, I went to a blending seminar where I smoked pure Ligero. That's when Robert walked away.
That's when Robert, who looks like
you really think
Kevin
he looks
Nash.
like Kevin Nash?
He looks like Kevin Nash to me. He would power bomb me.
He's
there.
a very tall guy with a ponytail
and goatee.
and goatee. Yeah, I guess maybe.
He kind of looks like.
Possibly.
I think that's a compliment. Kevin Nash
I told Robert Holt he looked like Kevin Nash, and Robert Holt was laughing, and I'm not exactly sure what he was laughing at. He might have been laughing at me. That's
If
fine.
you're gonna tell somebody they look like a wrestler, he's probably one of the better ones you could say.
I would think so.
You know who you look like? George the
Gorgeous-
Animal Steel.
Gorgeous George, that's who you look like.
Cody, have I told you lately you've got a real King Kong Bundy-esque look to you?
Man, let me put on my little black unitard.
Hey, if King Kong Bundy was good enough for Married with Children, it's good enough for Tuesday Night Cigar Club.
So you told,
Anyway,
You
so,
told a turnbuckle back here that I can tear.
oh, that would be awesome.
No, I was talking that I really like the taste of the Ligero. I like just, the strength. And Robert was like, wait till you taste our next product. Wait till you taste the next cigar that's coming out. He goes, I got a cigar called the Jacob's Ladder that I think is going to just rock you. He goes, it's a double Ligero. It's got strength. It's got body. It's got presence. It's got everything that you describe that you like in a cigar. It's there.
It's making my eyes water a little bit. Or maybe that was your story.
It might have been my story. Now tell us about this cigar.
Real quick, just on the end note, if you do have the opportunity to attend a Southern Draw event at your local shop, or if he's going to be at a festival, nobody is more actively, when you talk to them, Robert and his wife Sharon, at an event, genuinely interested in your story, love nothing more than to talk to you about their product, from factory details to the startup of how the company came to be. This last Cats Fest, we sit with Robert every Cats Fest, but this one, that night back at the hotel, I mean, we just sat for a couple hours just really just listening to stories, and I'm a fan.
And that's why I do like the festivals, whether it's Cats Fest. Actually, I think Cats Fest is the only fest I've been to. I've been to like some blending seminars and some private events.
You've been to shop events,
shop events. But I love the fact that at least in this community, a lot of your high-profile guys, or what I consider high-profile guys, they're very accessible. And of the people that I've met that have made themselves available, Robert Holt and Sharon are just really good, down-to-earth people. I've watched them work a crowd. I've watched them network. I've watched them just kind of, schmooze or whatever. And
it doesn't feel like schmoozing.
Exactly. They made the term schmooze bad because they weren't. They were just talking with people. It was a very good feeling.
Absolutely. Well, we paid them enough lip service.
Yeah.
Fair and unbiased. We're going in this. While it is nice chatting with them, we approach every cigar the same, with a raised eyebrow and about 20 beers.
And then eyebrow kind of collapses after beer 6.
The
He
size.
comes back up wondering, why am I here?
Where am I? Who are you guys?
My life choices. My life choices.
All right, my actions. This is the Gordo size, which is a 6.5 by 60. I told you guys when
It is a monster.
It does come
Not
in a cedar sleeve. You don't like the bigger ring gauges. I love them. But beautiful presentation.
I do like the cedar sleeve.
Cedar sleeve, double banded.
The wrapper itself is a Lancaster, Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper. Yak Boy pointed out to me when he was unwrapping, he's like, look at that, there's some crystallization on there. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, you hold it up to the right light, something you usually see on maybe some older age cigars. You do see some crystals kind of shining on there.
Yeah, you do.
It is a double Lajero tut. Try to control yourself.
Taste it.
I'm actually kind of curious about the difference between a Connecticut broadleaf and a Pennsylvania broadleaf.
Well, we're going to find out tonight. You're on the hot seat. The binder, I should mention, it's a Maduro binder, but they're not it's confidential. They're not releasing what that is. The filler, Lajero, the top, which is the top leaf of the tobacco plant, is from Esteli. The Viso, which is the middle leaves of the plant, is from Nicaragua as well. As well as the Seco, the lower portion, is Jalapa from Nicaragua as well. I will save price point for later, although you guys have actually smoked these. Have you had the big dog like this, or you had a different size?
No, I had this one.
You had this one? You've had this one.
Yeah.
I have not had any Jacob's Ladder.
I was actually wanting to go with the smaller ring gauge that they do have around me, but they were sold out.
Okay. Well, when I asked you which one to do for the show, you said this one. So
Yeah.
You no takesies backsies.
No.
They released this, like we said, this year. The first wave in July, second wave in October. The name Jacob's Ladder has 3 separate meanings. The cigar itself has a bluish purple band. It's got the typical Southern Draw logo on there, but that is the colors of the Jacob's Ladder plant when it flowers, a purple and purplish blue. As the Holtz are deeply religious folks, there's the biblical connotations of Jacob's Ladder, which would be the physical ladder from earth to heaven. And finally, their son, an heir to the Southern Draw Empire. I believe his middle name is Jacob. So I like it when cigars just aren't named whatever. It actually has some meaning for these guys and gals.
Also, they are a veteran company. They employ a lot of veterans, a lot of law enforcement, a lot of EMS, a lot of firefighters.
Robert is a veteran himself. It's a veteran-owned company. I'll tell you what I like.
Also, back to your, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the back to your religious connotations, Soli Deo Gloria. I had
glory to God only? Or
Man,
glory to God?
You do your homework. It's glory to God.
Oh, no,
Latin.
I speak fluent Latin. That wasn't homework. I believe it's glory to God alone or something like that.
No.
Another thing I do like, these we got these in these ready packs, or they're made by Bovita, and who's our favorite humidification system. But they come with a little humidity Bovita pack in there. Rumacraft packages some of their boxes with Bovita packs in there. Southern Draw does too. Man, I just don't see why everybody doesn't. We just took these out of the pack. They have just the right amount of give. These spent no time in my humidor. They've just been sitting here. They've been sitting here in this pack in my house, and it's from a storage wise, it's perfect.
I was gonna say, I mean, it literally tastes like it's been sitting in a humidor for months.
I'm not a fan of the 60 ring gauge in terms of the function, but in terms of the presence of a 60 ring gauge, there is something cool about this fat bastard.
Yeah, it's ballsy.
It's ballsy. It's
like
a ballsy cigar.
I started with 60 ring gauges with the my Uzi weighs a ton.
Yeah.
That's all they released those in originally. I'd go to the pub, light up one of those 7x60 bastards. This is kind of when 60 rings were first kind of coming out. And be like, holy shit!
Yeah,
what's that guy got in his mouth?
I always think
jokes
of
came out of that too. But,
He brought a torch.
I always think of like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear in the movie theater when he's just got that big fat ass cigar in his mouth. I don't like the form. I don't like the function of the 60 gauge. To me,
I think it's all in the blender.
It's too big.
I think it's all in the blender. I think if they take advantage of that ring gauge and blend it accordingly, there's some cigars that taste great in a Corona or a Robusto, and you get them in a bigger format, and they lose the nuances they lose. But I think there's some blenders that really can toy with it and really give you something in a bigger ring gauge that you can't get from the lower ring gauge.
Yeah, I think I'm more of a form guy though, to where I have really kind of grown to appreciate. It's funny because I really wasn't a box press guy, but now I kind of am a box press guy. I do like box presses. So if you're a box press guy, and then all of a sudden you've got this 60 ring gauge bastard here, it feels a little bit unnatural to you.
I'm going to talk with Robert about doing a Tuesday Night Cigar Club cigar. It's going to be a 100 ring gauge box press.
It's a square. I'm just making a square cigar. Which side do I light? Anyone. Pick one.
That totally sounds like us.
I will say right off the bat, my eyes watered a little bit. That spice on ignition is potent. Which is what they told you was going to be.
They didn't lie. It's powerful. It's going to kick you in your teeth. I hate it. No, they didn't lie.
No, this is not for a newbie smoker at all. If you want to deter a newbie smoker from ever smoking again, this would be a good cigar to...
Oh, so you want to take up cigar smoking, do you? Well, you're going to smoke all the Jacob's Ladder.
I was about to say, dads deterring their young sons. This is the cigar that you pick.
That spice did not maintain that. Also, if you notice, the wrapper went around. It wasn't a closed foot.
Not yet.
But it was. So if you...
It was
a sandal
almost
foot.
Was completely closed.
Well, what I did was I'll toast the foot a little bit before I start sucking away on it and torching it. But I purposefully lit it with it because I wanted to get a few hits of that pure Pennsylvania wrapper in my mouth, and I gotta think that I also got some Lajero in there because boy, my peepers were leaking a little bit, and it wasn't because Garrison Keeler's gone. Damn it.
No, you were just weeping for Angela Lansbury.
Well, I'm going to come back. Unless you guys have something to add, we just lit these bad boys up, so I'll come back to them very shortly. As always, we are pairing tonight's Southern Draw cigar with a appropriate beer. Yak Boy, fill us in.
Well, as we went with the Southern Draw, we went with the Southern Star Brewing Company. Their Pine Belt Pale Ale.
We've done some of these.
As a matter of fact, we have.
The Pine Belt, huh?
We've the Pine Belt.
You're welcome.
We actually the very
Where's
first
Southern Draw out of?
Conroe, Texas.
Southern Star.
Southern Star.
They are East Texans.
Conroe, Texas. They started in
Houston's considered
Houston's definitely. It's Southeast Texas.
South. I just think of Houston as South.
Southeast Texas, baby.
But, it was founded. Southern Star started in 2007.
Still independent.
Still independent. They're one of their number one claims to fame, which they have nicely printed on the can for us, is they were the first Texas craft brewer to.
I don't like it.
Don't like what?
To can beer?
No, I don't like that little saying up there.
Oh, it does seem like a weird thing to brag about.
Well,
First can craft in Texas.
Well, now it seems ridiculous. At the time, it was a huge deal.
No, because
People were screaming like, "I would love to get my craft beer in a can."
I
remember having a conversation with Cody one time. I was like, "Man, I've noticed a lot of shift back to the can." Because like a long time, you would not catch cans except for like Keystone and Bud Light and your macros.
Well, the number one...
And Cody was like, the technology has totally changed. And, a lot of the foldables with... Cody, go ahead and tell him.
The number one...
Let the man do his job.
The man do his job.
People wanted... And, the hardest thing with craft beer is people pushed away from it forever, and they said, and you still have your diehards to this day will go, beer tastes better out of the bottle. Well, and there's some truth to that. The old canning technology, it was basically just pure aluminum. And, you get your standard, Pilsners and lagers and your light beers.
You're going to adopt that taste.
They don't really interact as much with that aluminum. But now your other beers, they do, because in some of the instances, the yeast is still active. You still have fermentation going on, and that creates a little more acidity. It interacts with that can. They have gotten better technology. They have better food grade epoxies that they spray within these cans and within the kegs.
Food grade epoxies. Look at you. I would have figured they used
That's
like a non-nutritive cereal bar.
Cereal bars. I was going there.
Everyone's going to be an asshole today, right?
Yeah. I was actually.
It is the season to be merry. That's my name. No shit.
But that's been one of
Did
the
they invent the technology?
No.
They were just the first to utilize it in Texas.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
because now everybody.
yeah,
I don't think there's
people are trying to can left right, but also that's within.
I actually
The
love the
biggest thing here,
functionality of the
and
can.
across a lot of states, they don't allow you to go within parks or
Glass.
no glass. You can't go onto a lake, or you can't go to the beach
Or
with
apartment
glass.
pool.
Only cans.
Yeah, and pants. You got to wear pants to all those places. Trust me, I know.
Bastards.
Except for your apartment
What's wrong
pool.
with them?
No,
Guy wants to live free. He can't live free anymore.
I'm like, I got my beer in cans. They're like, yeah, but you got no pants on, asshole. Yeah.
But
I'm so sorry I resigned immediately.
back to the wonderful Southern Star, the Pine Belt
Which one-
is
real quick-
actually
real
their
quick.
first beer.
I'm sorry, real quick. Which ones have we done before? The Buried Hatchet?
The Buried Hatchet was actually the first beer we ever did on the podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory.
And then we did the conspiracy theory with
Yes, that was the one we did.
conspiracy movie.
The movie was The Conspiracy.
Yes.
Okay,
Aptly named.
and I think that was right around this time last year.
Yes.
Okay.
So the Pine Belt was actually their first beer they ever did.
Oh, wow.
And it is a pale ale. The style is British in origin. Now, obviously, it changes over time. This is, if you're, we're looking at it here. It's unfiltered,
Oh, yeah.
and you can expect it to be it's kind of a balance between being malty and hoppy at the same time.
Yes.
It's not very hoppy. The
No.
stats on this, it's 6.3 ABV and about 45 IBUs. The Southern Star's own description for this is the handcrafted American Pale Ale is brewed in small batches using high-quality American two-row choice British crystal malts, select hops, and deep well groundwater from the Evangeline Aquifer. Non-filtered, never pasteurized, this ale is packaged directly into cans to ensure maximum freshness for your enjoyment. The full-flavored amber is sure to satisfy, and in quotes, clarity is overrated.
Catch up.
Well, anyone who listens to our show knows clarity's overrated.
Oh, we've never been cloudier.
Especially.
Here's what I don't understand. Okay, you got British crystallization,
Malts.
malts, American Pale Ale. How does that work?
It's made in America.
The malt
Is there
style.
a British Pale Ale?
Malt style.
Oh, okay.
The actual ingredients for this is a raw special. The malt is a raw special pale.
RAR as in RAHR?
Yes.
Like RAR Brew, RAR and Sons?
Actually, no.
What?
There's actually a producer of malts, which is
Okay.
RAR, and there is a brewery here in Texas as well as RAR and Sons.
It's kind of like there's Oliva cigars, and then there's also an Oliva tobacco farm completely not related to
Okay.
Oliva cigars that
Okay.
Saka gets some of his stuff from.
Like I said, I do raw special pale, Simpsons, and a crisp. These are all the malts. The hops is a Galena, a CTZ,
I knew there was
and a
Galena.
Palisades. Oh, sweet, delicious Galena.
I knew there's some Galena hops
Oh,
in there.
man.
I got to tell you, as a guy who's kind of drifted away from not a big fan of the overly malty beers, the way you describe this with just enough
How
malts.
are you a fan of malt liquor and that you don't like the malty beers?
Well, I'll be honest. When I'm drinking malt liquor, what I'm drinking is the last thing on my mind.
Does it have alcohol in it? Yes. That's what I want.
I'm really not sitting out here swirling my glass. If you guys ever come up here and I'm holding my 40
I'm
ounce,
sorry, now I'm hearing Garrison Keeler. Well, it was a nice day.
I
I
just
settled down with my 64
if we're drinking
ounce bottle
malt
of
liquor
Mickey's.
out here, if a bull does not come breaking through the wall over here, I'm out.
I cracked open the tall can of King Cobra. Yeah, no, that's why I don't do a malt liquor podcast. That's a different story. And that is the reason why you guys aren't around when I'm drinking
Billy
that
Dean Williams.
Maybe we should do a malt liquor podcast.
stuff. Basically, just turn on the mics and run.
Can I farm malts?
Got the land.
Yeah, can I farm malts? I mean,
You can make them, yes.
for like Texas beers.
I'm gonna give you the typical Cody answer. You farm a lot of things. If you got the money, sure, why not?
Can I
Do
farm
what
like
you want. No
malts
one's
from
stopping you. Go on, live your life.
You're talking about like in your backyard because you
Yeah,
started
for
a
like-
little malt, your
for like
garden.
Texas beers?
Well, you could probably do it. I mean, I don't know how much space you have to do it with. Like,
I mean, but it's not like Texas can grow
I've
grains.
got 20
turn
feet of
into
space,
malts.
but I've got a 5-row tractor, and I can't go anywhere.
I see your point. Can they be grown in Texas malts?
Well,
Does our environment, it's December and we're
most of the
wearing
malts
shorts.
that I know about are produced up more north. I'm not saying that we don't have climates here that would. You can produce things here of that nature, but most of the malts that I know of are produced in cooler climates.
okay. It does have the sweetness from the malts, but it's not a I'm gonna get sick of this before the pint's over sweetness. It's nice, and as a guy who loves my IPAs, boy, I can taste the hops, but I can see where a guy like Tut, who's not an IPA fan, would be okay with it.
I'm cool with this.
I really like the beer.
I like the maltiness of it. As a darker beer drinker, it's totally towing that line between. I like playing with the hops, but not too hoppy. But I like that maltiness, heaviness of it. It's yeasty, but it's not overboard. I'm really liking this.
I am too. You liking it, Tut? You've had it before, huh?
Yes, I really like it. It's
And go ahead.
oh okay.
Sorry,
I thought you were.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I had noticed that I was interrupting you, and then I stopped.
Oh, I thought you were gonna punch him. Wait, good God!
No,
What's
I really
happening?
like
What's
it.
happening tonight?
Like I said, Kate mentioned earlier, like right when you lit up, it is just a blast. I mean it.
Oh wait, we're talking about cigar now.
no, you're done with the cigar.
No,
No, I'm talking about
Was that
the
in
beer.
the beer? Was that in the beer?
I'm just saying I'm going to be biased because
No, the
it's
beer.
got a cool
Yes,
name.
the beer I've had before. We've actually carried it at the pub before.
O'Brien's Irish Pub in downtown historic Temple, Texas.
Yes.
Y'all had the pine ale?
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
It's been a while back. I mean, it was one of the earlier craft beers that we had on. Like I said, they started in 2007. The pub also started in 2007, towards the end of the year. So when we were getting up in, in terms of like distribution, when they first started, all the craft beers, they start small. They're only distributing in their local areas, and eventually when they started to spread out, that were one of the first we got. We're like, finally, because most of these guys, they don't get the distribution from a larger company, so they're self-distributing. They get their own truck or van or whatever, and they send the guy out to sell. And we were lucky enough that they came in and said, "Hey," and we bought everything we could get from them.
Well, I will jump in real quick to the cigar. My ash just dropped. It was a beautiful ash, right about the 1-inch mark, just like yours. It just dropped on me. Are you guys getting like a kind of a rich fruitiness?
It's a sweetness, and I wasn't going to say that it was like fruity, but I was like, I don't know,
Like a dried fruit, maybe like
Kind of.
like a trail mix, like a
yeah, not raisin, and not raisin.
It's not raisin. I don't know what it is yet, but it's got like a sweet, a kind of a meaty sweetness. Kind
Cranberry.
Of, maybe cranberry.
Kind of being facetious, but
I don't know yet, but I'm getting a sweetness.
no,
that's
you're
kind
all
of
right.
a-
It is a dried fruit.
It's kind of a dried
Weird.
fruit sweetness, which
It's
really
that little like brown chunk that you eat it and you say, "Well, I know it's a fruit, but I don't know what."
Well, that's usually when I'm like, "The fuck am I doing eating this shit?" And I throw it out the window.
I like trail mix.
I've ate
Come on,
all
man.
of the cashews, so I just toss it out.
You have any cashews? We got this trail mix.
I love trail mix. Y'all shut up.
You would.
Trail mix, Garrison Keillor, and Angela Lansbury.
It's also, surprisingly, after that initial blast of Ligero and
it sits down
and
a
power,
bit.
it settles down, and now I'm just getting that real nice sweetness, the real good tobacco taste, and it's even got a little creaminess to it, which I wasn't expecting. It's still very bold.
Yes.
And
I totally don't get the creaminess on it, but you're right. It does sit down a little bit. It kind of punches you, and it lets you take a breath for a while. But it's got that nice Ligero presence. It's got a great power to it.
It is. I'm really enjoying it. And we'll come back to it. And again, I wish we don't do a lot of, because of, also not just your preferences for big ring, or your preference not to smoke big ring gauge cigars.
Oh, I'll do anything that you want to do.
No, but
if you want to do the egg, I'll do that thing.
I usually try to get us, a Toro, or just some middle of the road, a Church. I'm a big Churchill fan. It's my
I love Churchills.
My favorite Vitola is a Churchill. But every once in a while, I do like, and the Rose of Sharon that we did was the big sucker too.
Yeah, it was like a 58 box press.
And that felt
really
big. That felt good in your hand too. Am I allowed to say things like that anymore?
I don't know. I'm going to resign tomorrow.
This reminds me of those things that Matt Lauer was giving out to his interns.
You mean Clinton?
No, Matt Lauer, the Today Show guy. He's the latest. He got fired.
No, okay.
He was giving out sex toys as Christmas gifts to his...
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, with notes saying what he wanted, how he wanted. You know what? It's...
I just don't understand. What's everybody's problem in today's America?
I don't want to hear you guys bitch anymore at your Christmas presents. I molded it from my own.
Oh, God. Garrison Keillor, please put your hand up my back. I need comforting.
Matt worked tirelessly over the tub of plaster of Paris.
It was a cold day in Slade.
One more round of cheesecloth, and it was all done. Good night, America. This is the end of the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. We got a movie to talk about tonight. You guys want to talk about that?
A movie?
I guess.
We do that as well. Tonight's movie, Southern Draw Cigar, Southern Star Beer. Let's do a Southern movie. Shot here in the great state of Texas by some Texans. Kill or Be Killed, 2015. Recently added to Netflix. That's where we all watched it.
We watched it on Netflix. Yeah.
Directed by Dwayne Graves and Justin Meeks. Justin Meeks also, as well, stars in the film as one of the lead characters.
Yeah.
You have to bear with me tonight. I did something a little bit different tonight. Usually I take my notes and edit my notes digitally. Did these old school handwritten notes. So I may or may not have been drinking. Copious.
Was it cool to not get that phone call and be like, "Hey man, can you get my notes together?"
He still sent it to me.
No, he texted me. He's like, "They're only 3 pages."
He's like, "I sent it to you." And like normally,
18 pages, 20 pages.
Computer's just going like, well, I'm gonna be here for a while. I may as well make a sandwich or something.
Oh, thanks for letting our listeners know I don't have a working printer.
Oh, sorry. But anyways, this time
come
it
on,
literally
every
just
fan
went
of
like,
you knows that you hate technology. Wait, no, you love technology. You're just not good with it.
I'm not good with it at all. But that's neither here nor there. We're a team. Where one of us falls short, the others step up.
So I was
That's how you're
concerned.
couching that. All right, cool.
Kill or Be Killed. After a visually appealing opening credit sequence that showcases everything that could possibly scream to us, hey, you're watching a Western. Empty plains, old Mexican churches, like the Utah
Rolling
plains,
hills of cedars.
the big rocks, like from the John Ford westerns in Utah, like everything you could possibly like I guess we're watching a Western.
I was
Only
really
thing
just
missing was like an Indian crying.
A coral snake slithering across a creek bed.
I couldn't tell whether that was a coral snake or the friendly coral snake.
no, it was a coral snake.
It was
Because actually,
legit yellow black.
No.
the
Working
original
title of the film, which is when I first heard of it, because as you'll at the end of this podcast, you're going to hear we're going to interview the director of photography of the film. He's a friend of mine. When I first heard of this film, when he started working on it, the original title was
Red Touch Yellow, Kill a Fella.
Yeah.
Red on Yellow,
Kill a Fella.
which was the thing you used to recognize snakes by.
Yes.
Okay, because I always get that. I'm like, yellow and black, friendly Jack.
Yellow and black snake, pick it up and play with it. That doesn't rhyme.
I got nothing here.
How about you just stay away from snakes? That's gonna make sense. It's a very good looking opening credit sequence. It has some really good music to let you know you're watching. But it is kind of like a hodgepodge of every Western.
It is, but I will say that I do love the soundscape at this point. The Encione,
Ennio Morricone.
the Morricone
Influence.
soundtrack, the influence
But it's modernized.
It is modernized.
It's modernized with a modern guitar sound. It's not trying to replicate.
No, it's not replicating,
Morricone.
but it is definitely playing off
It's
of
an
it.
homage, but it's a very modern,
Yes.
And I appreciate that a
highly
lot.
produced soundtrack, and I like that a lot. I'll talk about this soundtrack later because it actually does some interesting twists and turns.
Yes, it does.
Throughout it. But after the opening credits, we cut to Pecos, Texas, 1900.
You mean Pecos?
Pecos, Texas. Is that a real place?
It is.
It is.
Absolutely 100%.
See, if I had typed out my notes, I would have caught that. I usually make alliteration, how to say things in my Pecos.
No, Pecos.
Pecos.
Do you say pecan?
It's not Pecos Bill is quite a cowboy down in Texas. It's Pecos Bill is quite a cowboy
Pecos
down in
Bill?
Texas.
I say Pecos.
And you're wrong, my friend.
It's not Pico. Pecos.
You probably say Houston.
Pecos, Texas, 1900.
1900. I was actually a little 1900. I was like,
Was it around back then?
no, it was. I mean, I'm just surprised at the date. I figured it would have been
1886.
1800s.
Yeah.
Well,
somewhere in there. But 1900? Because I was expecting at some point you're going to like see like an old car. I mean,
Well, that explains something that
Well, I'm going to get to something here in a little bit. I'm honestly curious about. I caught something in the movie. I'm like, were those around back then?
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Three outlaws have popped up out of some deeply dug holes in the ground. They stayed in overnight to ambush a prisoner chain gang. They shoot one law dog dead, free their buddy who was chained up working, and then leave the other convicts to tear apart the remaining guard. Turns out the outlaws, led by Claude, Sweet Tooth Claude, Tom, an older fellow, and Block, a big old blockhead,
Yo, Block.
have rescued Slapjack, a goofy son of a bitch, from the chain gang, not out of the goodness of their hearts, but because he has a treasure map in his boot, which will lead them all to 300 pounds of gold, a.k.a. retirement.
Yeah, the guards didn't
Well, I
search
was
that
you just
boot
kind of
well.
make I was like,
How long's it been in his sweaty boot on his chain? It's got to be like, you put something in my shoe for a day? It's nothing. It's gone.
how long were you working on that chain gang? Day in, day out. It was just all sweaty. It's all crusty and just it stuck to my leg. I'm sorry.
Guys, you have to suspend disbelief. It is the movies.
I demand strict
I
reality.
just think it's just kind of funny of all the things to get hung up on. We all caught that one.
It was in pristine condition.
It was. He pulls it out of his boot like it was just. I just stuck it in there. Now I'm going to pull it out. The paper is crisp. It folds out.
Yeah.
It's not stained.
Well, I guess the only
or-
alternative would be like a Pulp Fiction thing. He had it in his ass.
So I hid this map up my ass.
Well, Slapjack, like I said, is a bit of a goofball, but everyone agrees that the 500-mile horse ride to Galveston is worth it for this gold. They're not on the dirt trail, but a few minutes when they encounter a traveling snake oil salesman and his young apprentice. Did y'all recognize the old grifter? Ed Neal, he is the hitchhiker from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The guy with the knife in the van? Leatherface's brother in the original
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw? It's him.
Man, this film, and this is going to go on. There's been so many guys in this. Like I said, I surprised at the talent they got in here. Just the guys.
Well, he's a unique character, and they really capture that. Well, Claude, the leader, doesn't much like the way the old man's treating his young helper Willie. It's a kid.
Well, I mean, he literally takes him into the covered wagon and begins to beat him viciously.
I will say
the kid
that's
tripped.
I will say it's kind of interesting. All right, so when they roll up on this wagon, the kid starts doing a sales pitch with a dummy, a ventriloquist dummy. So he's basically doing like a ventriloquist act. And it's interesting because, modern day 2017 Jason's like, oh, come on, that's a bunch of bullshit. But 1887 guy or 1900 guy,
You'd think that was hilarious.
And I actually got that in this film, which is kind of weird because I was like, I could see where they would actually be entertained by this.
Well, that's good. Okay, so they delivered on that.
I kind of thought so.
What if the stagecoach had a guy? If you've ever ridden a stagecoach and taken a dump in your britches,
They probably would have loved that.
They would love my characters.
They have no other source of entertainment, so
the slapjack guy, he just laughs. He's over there. He's just laughing away.
Well, the older guy does start beating the shit out of this kid Willie, and Claude does not care for that. So he shoots him between the eyes after he beats the crap out of him, and they welcome Willie on board. They figure he'll add a little bit of innocence to our crew. We're going to be wanted. That they see us traveling with this kid, 12, 13-year-old kid, maybe they won't look at us so squirrely. Honest question as they ride off. 1900, did they have telephone poles?
Telegraph
above in the air.
Yes.
They were like telephone poles.
Yeah.
The telegraph started taking off. And this is why I was kind of surprised me when I saw that. I'm like, I'm sure it would be there.
As they rode, I saw some telephone poles, and I was like, eh.
But at this time, they also started to have the automobile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but at the same time, as a person who has grown up in the piney woods, we're about 20 years behind.
There we go.
Somewhat, yes.
Is Pecos behind the pine curtain?
No, it's not.
So that really doesn't make sense here.
Well, West Texas is even worse.
Oh, okay. Right. Is West Texas a real place?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a very real place. It exists.
They don't want you to go there, but it is a real place.
Let me adjust my notes.
It exists in the myths of...
Well, telephone poles aside, I'd like to talk about the tone of the film for just a minute. At least first impressions of it from you guys, because I'm going to talk more about it later. This early dialogue during them breaking them out of the chain gang and them riding the horses, to me, early on, it seems so cliched.
What are you talking about, Peckerwood?
Almost as if someone had taken... Remember those old El Paso salsa commercials? New York City. It seemed like somebody made a feature film out of those guys.
Well, that's just because of the way that they talked.
I didn't know if it was purposeful, if this was going to be a comedy, because it was so... Every other line, I reckon lots of talks about hogwash and I'll put you in a pine box. Every cliched Western term.
It was... I will agree. See, this
bunch of half-breeds and pepper bellies.
I had to look up pepper belly, so it's like, is that Mexican?
Are you a pepper belly?
I don't know.
I thought you looked it up.
No, I'm not. It is.
I'm fairly certain everybody was a Peckerwood.
You're a Peckerwood. Bunch of hogwash. But it was all like those things you would like if you didn't have a script and we're like, all right, act old timey Western. Well,
he's speaking some genuine old time gibberish.
Well, I reckon I'll go down yonder and see if
I'm grateful that these children are here to hear this frontier gibberish.
Absolutely, man.
Did you guys get that weird impression? Of
yes.
I
thought the same thing.
Yeah,
I had high hopes for this film, but
it was mainly the dialogue that made me feel that way. Actually, it was the dialogue that made me feel that way.
I couldn't figure out though if it was cheesy or if it was intentional satire this early on.
I think this is probably one of the early scenes that they.
I think this is them wanting to be authentic.
And I think you might be right. Maybe this was the first day of filming, and it was like maybe that night they were like, "Hey, you guys could maybe
back off a little.
I'm not so certain
Take it
that
from a
these
12
words
to
and
a
phrases
7,
really were what they were saying.
Well, personally, I started to lean towards the latter. I thought maybe it was satire, and maybe they were going to do something interesting with it.
Oh, they did.
Mainly because of the robbery scene that takes place the following day. Is what led me to believe this movie would be a little more in the satirical or the comedy realm. The boys reconnect with another member of their crew, a scout who's up ahead, an African-American named Goody, who tips them off to a nearby church, a Lutheran church that is in possession of quite a large haul of money and gold. As teenage Willie causes a distraction in town by putting on his ventriloquist dummy show, the boys rob the church, and when things go south, there's a comical shootout. And when I brought this up, you'll see in the interview, I bring it up with the director of photography, Brandon. Did you guys not think that the shootout was very Naked Gun? There's a scene where the guy is on the ground shooting. There's a guy behind a pew, from me to you, and they're shooting at each other.
I was waiting for that old timey piano to be playing in the background. Just
I kept waiting for
banging,
I kept waiting
and
for
then literally he's shooting, and as he's shooting, he passes by the old timey guy playing the piano.
Well, I just thought because they were showing him one shots of him and him and him. I was waiting for the Naked Gun reveal where it's a shot of both of them, and they're literally 2 feet apart from each other.
Put up that barrel.
Because they were just shooting away, and
it was
like stormtroopers.
I
can't hear what you're saying. Stop shooting the gun.
I gave that a pass because right before, the way that the kid and the ventriloquist kid distracted them was with firecrackers, and I'm like, really, a black cat is supposed to mask the sound of a freaking 45 going off?
Well, that aside, what solidified it for me more, when the gang, so they shoot a preacher, they shoot a couple guys dead in the church. When the gang mounts their horses, it seemed like the camera was cranked up faster. Like they moved faster, like Benny Hill style, jumped on their horses. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a comedy.
Well,
I didn't really get comedy at this point.
Or goofy.
If it was in black and white, it would make perfect sense.
It would if it was silent.
Because it would have been like that. It would have felt like an old silent film.
But at the same time, we're seeing a lot of bloodshed. We're seeing a lot of visceral wounds. And
I was literally thinking indie film at this point. I mean, there's some. You got to realize with indie films, there's going to be a lot of chances that are taken. A lot of things,
which I'm a fan of.
Yeah,
I've done myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things to where if this were, and you're going to hear the cinematographers say, "I would love to see these guys with a budget. They deserve a budget." Well, one of the things that a budget comes with is heavy-handed producers that are not going to let you take those risks. So at this point, I'm not really thinking comedy. I'm just thinking it's an indie film, and the directors are really kind of, trying to throw some stuff.
And I mentioned on the show occasionally the film I did, Underbelly, which where I first met Brandon, the DP. I hired him, and it's one of my crew guys who went on to shoot this film. I was tonally all over the place, from musical numbers to slapstick to horrible scenes of depravity. And
I just want to get this out there because I might not mention it. I don't know. When I'm watching this, I was like, "This is Underbelly as a Western." It really is.
Even the characters, they kind of had
come on, Slap is freaking Joe.
Is Eugene in my movie? The Block is Creep.
Yeah.
The Doctor. The smoother kind of ladies guy.
Charismatic all the way leader. From, and I don't want to give the movie away. I'll take another one, please. I don't want to give the movie away just yet, but the Western and horror elements combined. I mean, you're talking about a cross-genre movie as well.
It reminded me a lot of my movie.
It really
as
did.
As the dynamic of the gang and the tonal shifts, it did.
It really did.
Early on, I was like,
it was weird.
I'm glad you saw that.
Both it was weird.
Especially the character of Slapjack was very similar to.
It was like they watched.
If he had a big red cowboy hat with a question mark on it, I'd be like, all right, you guys have gone too far.
Come on, guys.
This is enough. Enough's enough.
But let me just get my old cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Movies?
If that was the case, I'd be calling, who's that cowboy lawyer? The Hammer.
By law, I gotta tell you.
Who's that Hammer lawyer? Like, I think these guys, no.
That would be great if they had that character. By
law, I gotta tell you, boys. But yeah, so anyway, at this point, I didn't know what it was, but I was
I can understand that.
I was okay with it. I was okay with it, though. Well, the crew arrives at a crazy old bastard named Rudy's house out in the middle of nowhere. We know he's crazy because just before they arrived, we saw him poison a traveler's soup. Classic old West thing in Westerns. You're traveling, you get hungry, you just stop at somebody's house, and they give you soup and coffee. I miss that. I wish they still had that.
I would never accept that.
If I showed up at your doorstep, been traveling since 3 days. You would be like, come on in. I got some soup on the stove and give you some coffee. No, you wouldn't. I sure as hell would.
Well, it's a different time.
I'm never.
You're talking back in that.
I wouldn't give you that soup.
Yes, you would.
I've given you soup. I'll give you plenty of coffee tomorrow morning.
I think I would be like,
yeah. You'd have some to-go containers. Here's your soup.
I'll make you soup, but 1 second while I go back and get.
By the way, if you're coming back around in a couple days back to Pecos, you could drop the Tupperware back off. We reuse that. Great.
That'd be great.
Thanks. Well, they arrive at this guy's house, and he's poisoned this traveler's soup, and he keeps encouraging. He's like, "What'd you put in this soup?" As he keeps eating it. He's like, just keep eating it. It'll all be over soon.
Wait, what?
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to keep eating this.
Well, so finally he shoots the guy in the head. The poison was taking too long. So Rudy's wife mouths off, "You got to quit killing people. Everyone that stops in for soup, you kill them."
I don't understand this.
And he's like, "You know what? I'll send you back to Horn. That's the other option if we're not going to do this." And nobody wants what did he say?
You're wrinkled.
Like nobody wants your divorced, wrinkled old koozie. I think he called it a koozie or something. A cooch. You're a wrinkled old cooch. I thought it was kind of harsh. But anyway, she mouths off one more thing, and he does a WWE.
He just slams her face into the table.
But dude, it's total wrestling. He's got his one hand under her head. So it's like, low budget. You're not really going to smash this woman's head against the table. But it was like totally like for show. And he kills his wife and drags her outside, and he throws her down in the cellar where he throws all his bodies. And we see a little kid in there.
Yeah.
Papa? And
here's your mama.
Here's your mama. And he slams the cellar door. This literally happened right before these guys show up. When they show up, Rudy's cleaning the blood from his wife's head off the table. Well, Rudy eagerly, as the crew shows up asking for shelter and some soup and coffee, Rudy eagerly feeds his new visitors some of his Dr. Huxtable-approved soup.
Am I the only one who's like... First of all, there was something about Rudy that I liked. The actor.
He is played by the lovable Pepe Serna.
And it kills me. I mean, the guy's aged. Since we've seen him in a while.
That's what happened.
But I do think, as far as standout performances in this film, he's at the top of the list. Yak Boy, where do we know this guy from?
Pepe Serna, most famously. He's been acting forever. Well known, he was in Scarface with Al Pacino. He has been in, just about every famous 80s television show. Knight Rider, A-Team, Cagney and Lacey.
300.
Murder, She Wrote.
Miami Vice.
Banned. Pepe Serna is banned.
Movies. Besides
Scarface, he's the skinny little henchman.
He has been in Caddyshack 2. He has been in the just movies. The Rookie with Clint Eastwood.
Look him up as a younger guy. You'll recognize him immediately.
Well, I'm just like, they're going through. This is a heinous dude who's just. I want to know why he's killing people.
Well, you never learn this. And this is what's kind of great. And it almost, I thought, was going to take this film into kind of an Odyssey kind of thing where they just encounter different characters. We don't need to know their motivations. They just encounter these weird, as they have this long 500-mile trip to Galveston, they're just going to drop in on these.
Wow.
Well, that's what I was hoping.
I was about to say Odyssey, huh?
I'm not giving the Homer stamp on this quite yet. But no, this is a very interesting character. We just saw him kill his wife. We saw he has his little son chained up in the basement. He gives the whole crew his sleepy soup, and shortly after everyone's passed out around the table, he drags Slapjack into the bedroom, and when he could just, I guess, pull off his ring, not Rudy, he actually grabs some scissors and cuts off Slapjack's finger to get the ring, because he's going to kill them all anyway. Do you think maybe he's putting them in the soup?
I could be.
This guy might be a cannibal.
At this point.
It is Texas.
Which, surprisingly, the other gentleman at the table that he kills first
was Leatherface. In either 2 or 3. I'm not sure which one. I think it's 3.
I think it's 3 because, I don't think I've seen 3.
I think he played Leatherface in part 3. Another Texas actor and pops up. But he was really good, old cranky bad.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like Garrison Keillor, actually.
This soup reminds me of a hot
I remember Maybell's hot chicken noodle soup. I used to watch her spoon it out as I put my hand in my trousers. God, Garrison. Now that I listen back to it, it's so filthy. No, he cuts off Slapjack's ring finger, and right just then, Claude snaps out of it and pulls out his gun, and right as he's trying to, he's in this roofied haze, Rudy comes at him with like a candlestick holder, and he manages to shoot him in the chest and kill him, and then he passes back out. To where the next morning they all kind of wake up. They're still at the dinner table. Their faces are like in their soup. Like, what the hell happened here? At dawn they string Rudy's body up to a tree and burn his body, sending him to hell. I honestly thought maybe, because I'd heard there were some horror elements, like it was a Dusk Till Dawn thing. You thought it was a Western and had the horror. I thought the movie might just be them trapped at Rudy's house. He was such a good character, and like I thought maybe the whole movie was going to be them like trying to escape this house of horrors, and we were going to learn why Rudy does. But no, just like that, they're done. They're moving on, which I kind of like. Introduce a crazy character, have a good scene, and then boom, you're out of there.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm left wondering, like,
the world's full of crazy characters.
And now it's a horror movie. It's a horror western.
Go into a Walmart.
We've seen enough of those, haven't we?
You're going to meet some weirdos. You're not going to know what their story is. You're just going to meet them and be like, that was something, and then that's it. That's all you know. Well, they travel a bit before they stumble across Martin. He was a teenage courier who was tasked back at the church town that they robbed with taking news of the robbery to seek help.
Like this,
because their cables were down. Even though we saw the
there was a scene where they actually destroyed the telegraph cable.
How did I miss that?
It was very quick. He literally
shoots it.
His precise accuracy. He shoots the tiny line.
That's not exactly how that would work, but
whatever.
Suspension of disbelief.
Okay.
I mean, if they got blocky over there, just to, like chop the line down, that would have been different. Well, I would have believed it.
The cable's down, so they had to send Martin.
By the way, I want to take this moment to pause on Block. Mm-hmm. That dude, actually, Block
the big quiet henchman of the group.
I will say. He didn't show me a lot in terms of acting, but he showed me a lot in terms of just screen presence.
He had a good look.
He had a great look.
He had a really good look.
I would love this look. I mean, he just in terms of like a movie project.
The thing that I actually love is they were actually more authentic in their costumes than the most modern westerns. They stick everybody in a modern cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Which old school, those guys wore derbies more so than the modern cowboy hat that we think of. And Block and one of the other, they're wearing the old style derbies that most of the cowboys actually wore.
I'm not a fan of the derby.
I just it's yeah. I just liked his look. He had a great, just imposing look to him, but he also had like this imposing simpleton look to him.
Yeah, there wasn't. You never got the thing that he was misunderstood.
Yeah,
he just was who he was.
He was a.
But at the same time, I also like Justin's look. Justin Meeks, Claude.
The Claude. The
I think that there was times to where he was going over the top with the authentic frontier language, gibberish. But his look was great.
But, to go back to Block in my film Underbelly, the character of Creep, played by our own doctor, he was kind of the same thing. I wanted just kind of this. He's basically a great white shark in a walking around. He's just a feeder, killing time on Earth till he goes to hell, and he knows it. And he just kind of, it's easier for him to saddle up with a crew.
But that was weird, though.
And do what he was told.
Because of his religious connotations.
Well, he's a confused guy. He won't do certain things. He won't go into a whorehouse, but we'll see that he does some really
I didn't understand it. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like Telly Savalas in what was it? The Dirty Dozen?
Yeah.
He was kind of religious,
that's a good point. I'm guessing maybe when you watch the interview with the director of photography, he said a lot of stuff was cut out. A lot of the serious stuff was cut out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there might be a campfire scene where Block explains himself a little more. I'm guessing, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, they strip Martin the courier down and tie him up. But
by the way, the actual interaction between Martin and Sweet Tooth, I thought it was funny. I liked it. Where he's like describing Sweet Tooth. I just want to tell you that there's some gangsters around.
I gotta warn you guys, there's old Sweet Claude Sweet Tooth's around here, and he's got 2 pearl-handed guns just like those on your. Oh shit. That was.
I'm sorry, I liked it.
No, it was a good little scene. But when sunrise comes up, Martin's he's gone. His ropes are cut loose, and old Tom, the gang's kind of wise older statesman, who's kind of bumped heads with Claude as far as who's leading the crew. He's dead.
Just dead.
Not any sign of Martin didn't. This kid didn't kill him. As Claude says, he's old. He just came to the end of his trail. He just dropped dead in his sleep. Boom, he's gone. He was kind of a major character that just died in his sleep. All right. Well, that night they come across a farmhouse where a nice enough family of 4 welcomes them in for soup and coffee.
Just coming across strange places just full of soup.
Is that just something that, like, Daddy, I see 4 people on horse. Start the coffee pot.
Keep stirring that neighborly soup.
Get that soup stirred. Well, thank God I made a cauldron of this shit. She didn't say that. The young daughter and son, they welcome him in. Everyone's a gracious host. Like Todd said, it's a different time. The young daughter and son, she's about 12, the son's about 5, perform an after-dinner song and dance. He plays the piano and she sings a lovely rendition of the Yellow Rose of Texas.
The Eyes of Texas.
The Eyes of Texas, correct. But you know what? I thought this was a funny scene. When they say they're going to do their after-dinner performance, the dad says, and like not in an insulting way, but because he is kind of suspicious of these people, but he's being very friendly. Yeah. But the dad says to the little boy as he sits down at the piano, "There'll be no performance tonight. These men are far too jaded for that." Maybe he didn't mean it as an insult, like. Look at you guys. You don't want to hear my shitty little son play a stupid song.
It was it was one of those scenes that I latched onto, but it.
Do you think people say that shit about us?
Oh, you know it.
Like, hey, I'm going to go talk to. They're far too jaded for that. Or do you wish people would say that about us?
No, they don't. What they actually say about us is that I'm pretty sure they're connected. Don't go talk to them.
Connected to what? We don't know. Nobody knows our motivations.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a funny scene.
It actually was.
And Sweet Tooth Claude's like, oh no, let her sing. Yeah.
Look, we've had a crappy day.
Yeah,
we want a spectacle.
We've been killing and raping all day. Let the girls sing a song. And bring us some more of that soup and coffee. Mom's like, oh shit. All right, let me.
We just stopped off at a traveler's house and they cut the finger off of my friend here. Yeah, we want to song and dance
to lighten up the mood.
Oh, and I didn't mention this in the church shootout. Slapjack was also shot through the foot, so he's got a bullet in his foot, a missing finger.
But he's
still in very high spirits.
This is wonderful. Slapjack he is just a lovable old punching bag. He is going to get pounded and beat and shot, and more so than any other human being alive.
Does it with a smile.
Cody, that's just some of the funniest stuff I see.
These things happen.
Oh, well.
Shot my darn toe.
You know, before they went into the house, Sweet Tooth Claude told everybody, be on your best behavior. And that lasts for a few hours until the little 12-year-old girl goes to the outhouse before bed. And as she's in the outhouse, she hears a noise, and she lights a match, thinking it's her little brother screwing with her outside. And all of a sudden, we see the giant 6'8" block inside the outhouse with her. Like, it's a tiny outhouse, obviously. There's not big outhouses. And she lights that match and looks up, and he's literally, like, looming over her.
There's only one door. How would you not know that it opened?
Well,
even if
I didn't lock the back door to the outhouse.
Even if you did notice it was open, there's not much you're going to do against Block.
No. Before she could do anything, he pounces on her, muffling her screams, and we go to black. It's another one of those tonal shifts. I was just laughing my ass off.
You go to black, but you hear it.
You hear his hand over her mouth,
and it's a dark scene.
It's a very dark scene.
It's a dark scene.
It's a very dark scene.
You were talking about the tonal shift, about how you just went from laughing at the jaded comment.
Yeah, I give the filmmakers credit for that. I love a 180 tonal wise when I'm not expecting it.
Yeah,
and we don't know these guys good enough yet. I didn't have any clue that Block. He's just a big dummy at this point. I never would have thought.
Well, it's weird because like he looks like the big dummy, but he's quoting scripture like he's the freaking sniper from Saving Private Ryan. So I'm kind of like liking the character, and then he does this, and now I'm just kind of like, fuck, what am I supposed to think about this guy? It was a very, very dark scene. I actually had to turn away. I was just like, "Jeez, dude."
Well, you know,
you should watch the I know the underbelly scene you're talking about. I actually kind of was like, dude, that's kind of.
But I spent a lot more time getting you to kind of like these guys before I dropped what they were actually capable of. I wanted to be a much more like, let's spend an hour with these guys, and they're bad. You don't quite see the extent of it. But I really want you to like hanging out with these guys. But then I'm going to show you that they're actually the worst people in the entire universe, and make you feel like shit for. But
that was my problem with
you lead up to that mania that they live in. You give context to it. Whereas these. I mean, all of a sudden,
I will say
you're like, oh, well, he's the big silent.
But no, I will say that you're talking about these are bad people. You've shown me a church shootout that was more slapstick Keystone Cops. You have to go dark.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you want to give this any kind of gravity, you got to go there.
And then I really, to the listeners, I will say, check out Brandon's interview because he talks about a lot of the editing choices that were made on this film. And he also talks about just kind of how disturbing this scene actually was to shoot.
For the whole crew.
And for the whole crew.
Well, we know these dudes are bad news, but that's a highly disturbing moment nonetheless. The next morning, as the father and Claude enjoy some breakfast coffee, now you got to give them coffee in the morning and morning soup. You boys want some breakfast soup?
Scrambled eggs, please.
Is that just the same soup from last night?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. All right.
It sure was good, Mrs. Frontier's woman.
What's for lunch?
Soup.
Well, as they're enjoying their coffee on the porch, and the father's kind of warmed up a little bit to him. He's like, "Yeah, y'all hard workers, and I appreciate you. You could do some things for me earlier on the ranch."
Claude is
actually—he's a charming guy.
He's talking to the dude.
He's the leader for a reason. He's the only one that can actually kind of put on a face to this crew where they can get through society and blend in a little bit. He's the only kind of half normal one of the bunch. Well, the mother then discovers the bloody outhouse.
I just thought of the A-Team face. Face, go talk to him.
Yeah. The mother discovers the bloody outhouse, and just like that, the father grabs a shotgun, and Claude has to shoot the father before he can kill Block, sparing the fleeing mother's life. It's like, we don't need to kill the mom. She'll be back to get the kid later.
I was going to say, no need to separate the boy from his mom.
We'll be long gone. Well, because Claude himself was separated from his dad, and he knows what that can do to a young boy. I'm proof of that.
It's a twisted logic.
It is, but all good villains have twisted logic. Well, the gang goes into a stable to get some fresh horses, and they see that a horse has been gutted, displayed, intestines strung up over beams and hanging. And the young boy says, "What kind of animal would do that?" A two-legged animal.
Two-legged animal.
He's convinced.
That's actually a pretty good line.
Claude's convinced that there's an engine following them, and who's toying with them. Well, they're all freaked the fuck out, which they should be, but they got to get the hell out of there, so they mount up and ride off. Real quick, as they ride off, cigar. I'm about halfway. Where you guys at? How you liking it?
I love it.
It's weird because you, at the start of this journey, Mr. Connecticut,
63 episodes ago, didn't.
This is the most farthest away from your profile at the beginning of this series.
You've grown up, Yak Boy.
Well, thank you. But like we said, when you first lit up, it's just a blast, and then it has died down considerably. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe my palate has just gotten used to it, but I mean, it's not just overpowering.
Yeah,
it's not just crushing you. There have been others. Literally, just the whole time. I mean, my mouth is on fire. But this one, not. In the beginning, you had that for probably the first 5 minutes.
You get a nice.
Robert showed he could do that with the Rose of Sharon. Take a larger ring cigar, larger ring gauge cigar, and give you some transitions, and give you a different midway, a different third than the first. I think as a blender, he's really showing his stuff, because this one, now that I'm hitting the middle part, I'm getting some roasted coffee.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Getting some roasted coffee. Still, the strength is first and foremost. That double Lajero, I haven't had one in a while. I am a fan. I don't smoke them as much as I used to, but I am a fan. That is still that strength. And while it's not spicy per se or peppery, it does just that power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it's interesting because you got that power. It's not a transition cigar. There is a transition. You go from that pepper blast. Yeah. You settle down. You get a little bit of. No, I don't need one.
You're good.
You get a little bit of a. All right, I totally misaligned the cigar. There is transition. It's subtle transition, because once you get into the middle of it, start looking for a leather. Start looking for a hint of graham, and start looking for a hint of jerky as well.
There is a meatiness in there that I could get. I could get the jerky where I'm not getting the graham.
Yeah.
I am getting
graham's only on the retrohale.
But you know what? That sweet.
Can't believe I'm just like, well, if you retrohale like me.
That sweetness though, that dried fruit sweetness, I think kind of ties in with the jerkiness. Jerky has that sweet, kind of meaty taste. I'm not gonna. There's nowhere near the transitions in the so far the journey that the Rose of Sharon takes. That thing's a really complex cigar. I would not classify this as complex at all. I think it's gone from a ball-busting opening act, which quickly went into some sweet and really rich flavors. Now, midway, I'm getting, like I said, you still have that sweetness. The like Tut said, good call on the jerky, the meatiness, the beef jerkiness. I am getting a little on the back end, a little roasted coffee, which I got. It's a really good powerhouse cigar for those that can handle it.
Yeah.
And the beer is pairing wonderfully with it. Not taking away from it, not fighting it.
It's actually pairing really, really well.
And I think the fact that in terms of the beer, the IBU being that this is simply a pale
45,
ale.
right?
45 IBU is not conflicting. It's you're not up in the 80s on the IBU. You're not getting a super strong bitterness fighting this cigar.
Yeah.
And it's worth mentioning too. While this cigar does not, I don't know about you guys, I haven't checked. It does not hold an ash very long, which is not a deal breaker. I think at a 60 ring gauge, that's a heavy ash. That's a lot of ash to hold tight.
But look at your burn line.
No, but
it's pretty.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with that. Forget the ash. It's a big cigar. It's a heavy ash to maintain.
Yeah.
As with all Southern draws, they're tested. The draw is perfect. I barely sliced the cap with my scissors. It's pulling perfect. I'm looking around. Everyone's burn lines are completely straight and solid. I'm getting just the right amount of airflow. Relighting only because I'm running my mouth so much. Construction, I have zero qualms with. It's performing beautifully. So we'll come back to it in a little bit unless you got something else.
No, just the house that Southern Draw deals with, isn't it, Fernandez?
They do all their, but this was actually blended by Robert. They do, but they are manufactured at AJ Fernandez's factory in Nicaragua. They've been there since the beginning. Robert spends a lot of time there, from what the stories he's told. He's super active in the testing. Quality control is huge with Southern Draw.
It is extremely huge with him. That's one of the things that I like about the stories with Robert, is that he's very open with their business model. He's very open with their price point.
Talking to him, just when we sat there with him, on the top of his head, how many of this size, how many of this, like, he's got it after, they've been on the market for not even 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
The guy's got his business model that he went in with, that through grassroots, hitting the shops, being a face for the brand. I mean, he knows what it takes to get. And he knows what moves, and he knows what sizes move.
Well,
and he knows.
I just appreciated, because it was like, this is the cost. He goes, I'm not inflating my cost because of availability or because of rare tobacco, or I just can't get my hands on this tobacco. No, this is the cost. This is what our production cost is, and it will not change. And he goes, I'm not going to BS you on that point. And I really appreciated that.
Agreed. Do you want? Now you're talking about. You want to talk about price?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have smoked it before. I usually do it later, but since you guys have smoked this before, and I think we're talking about it. What's this run?
I have never actually seen.
You were gifted one by
a
musician traveling, playing at Cody's Pub. A musician saw the Tuesday Night Cigar Club banner that plays on the pub's TVs. Asked a waitress, "What's that about?" Says, "Oh, one of our owners does a podcast, a big cigar smoker." So he brought Cody a Jacob's Ladder.
I love the fact that you were brought a Jacob's Ladder.
And this musician, actually, his day job, he works at a smoke shop in College Station, correct?
San Marcos.
San Marcos.
The Hill Country Humidor. And he saw our banner and he asked about it, and then he came out and talked to him.
Showed up with a winner,
and he was like, hey, here's a I knew it was coming out.
Yeah, it would have been brand new.
And he was just like, well, they had actually Robert Holt had just been there. They had just done a thing there debuting that this was going to be coming out. And he's like, here. And he literally just hands this to me. I'm like, you know what? I am not going to refuse.
I gotta say this too, real quick. We'll come back later. I'll tell you the price in a minute. I say it all the time on the show. Blue bands for me work. I can't believe more people don't use a blue band. This is a purplish band and it pops. Like visually, I think this is my favorite band of the Southern Draws. I just think it's just a great looking. That color is really, and it's good against the dark
Oscuro.
Pennsylvania. It is almost an Oscuro wrapper.
A lot of cigar people they stick to almost what I would refer to as like the red and the gold.
Yeah,
a lot of red and gold.
But one of the ones that I always carried, one that forever a blue band, was Davidoff. And I mean, I smoked those for a while. I can't remember what it was, but it just blue band.
I love a blue band, and I especially love like the Cuenca y Blanco, the CYBs, that light blue band. The Foundry resurrected the Raymond Alones brand. It had a really good aqua logo, but this purple's working for me. I like it. $10.99.
$10.99 at Cedar Park, Smokers Abbey.
I was gonna say like 12 or 13.
It's a big, long-lasting cigar. $10.50 for a big badass like this. I'm totally okay with that.
I actually am too. For followers of our show, even cigar manufacturers who like quiver when I deliver my dialogue on price point, no, $10.99 is fine for this. It's a freaking 60 ring gauge cigar.
We're gonna be smoking
that's going to last you for a while. Yeah. It's got strength up the wazoo.
It sure
it's
does.
got flavor up the wazoo. $10.99, totally cool with this.
And there's nothing worse than a 60 ring cigar that you're having draw issues and you're sucking on this big thing. First of all, in public, it's embarrassing. I'm totally on board. $10.50, sign me up. Next stop is Kerrville.
Oh, Kerrville.
Now this, I know, is a real place.
It is.
Fun fact, I once set a state powerlifting record in Kerrville.
Did you?
I did. Last I heard, still stood. That was several years ago. No, I did. I was at a very low, believe it or not, weight class. I was extremely strong for a 150-pound sophomore.
What? This was 6th grade?
Sophomore year. I was cock strong. I was upper body strength. My bench made up for my low deadlift and squats. But yeah,
he skipped leg day.
Well, leg day wasn't cool in the 90s. We didn't have memes. We didn't have memes about leg day. We just went to the gym and didn't talk about it or put memes about it. The good old days. Next up, Kerrville, where the boys stop in at a whorehouse to get young Willie's carrot wet. He's never been with a woman.
He has banana peel.
Or as he says, I've never pickled a whore before.
Not really sure what that.
I think that's your problem, Willie.
That's not how we talk to the lady.
Your charm is a little. Well, the rest of the gang, he's getting his carrot wet while the rest of the gang robs the whores. In fact, these dickheads show just how big of the dicks they are. They go in and Willie's getting head. He's like a minute away from finishing, and they bust in and rob the whore. And he's like, all I needed was 30 more seconds. Like, what a bunch of assholes. These guys are savages.
Also, what I love the fact is that it is a teenage boy.
Well, it's a different time.
It was a different time.
But yeah, savages. Couldn't give him 30 more seconds. Meanwhile, during all this, we see that the church's town sheriff from that first church robbery, him and his posse are hot on the trail now. When Martin never came back, the courier boy, they were like, all right, something happened, and we guess we have to get on our horses and do something. The town was pretty vocal about it, too, like, why aren't you out there doing it? Well, you need us here. If we left, they'd circle around here, and they'd drink your coffee and eat your soup and rape your daughters, and we could make more soup, Sheriff.
By the way, the sheriff, I don't know whether he's related to Merle Haggard, but he looked like Merle Haggard.
I got to know, it was Merle Haggard.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is he still alive?
No, he is not.
Okay.
That's a surprising casting.
He just died recently, right?
3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Which in itself is a miracle.
2 years
it lasted
ago,
that long.
Yeah. I mean, he's looked dead since the 80s.
But we have been seeing them assemble the posse. I just kind of skipped over a lot of that. It's typical. These guys are on the hunt. And as they arrive at the farmhouse where they killed the father and daughter, they survey the damage. We see the young girl. And Brandon, in his interview, you'll see later, he said the one of the troubling shots for him in this thing was shooting just the young girl's bloody dead legs sticking out of the outhouse.
Yeah.
So they know they have to get the Sweet Tooth Gang. That night at their campsite, the boys are joined by Pearl, one of the whores from the whorehouse, a strikingly beautiful prostitute that's followed them all the way from Kerrville. She shows up at the campsite. She says she realized after all those years of whoring, she had nothing to show for it but a curious itch. And she thinks she'd be an asset to their team.
Wait a second. That's not a euphemism.
No, she actually had a...
She actually has a curious itch.
They didn't have WebMD back there. She was really curious what that itch was.
What is this curious itch? You're going to die.
Well, first of all, I'm sure it's a burning, incredibly painful itch. But good dialogue. It's a curious itch. You know what? The film's original title, Red on Yellow Kill a Fella? I think that might have been a good one, too.
Curious itch.
Curious itch.
Our in development title is Curious Itch.
You had a curious itch back on the Travis Tritt tour in '96, didn't you? Again, is that told in confidence? I'm not supposed to bring that up on the show.
Kind of was.
Sorry. I'll make a note to edit that out. Look, I used the eraser aside. I'm writing that note right now. We'll get that out of there. I should note that Tritt himself had nothing to do with it.
Again.
Oh God.
In confidence. No. Come on.
He wasn't a Matt Lauer or a Garrison Keillor to work
I don't want
for.
to get sued by Travis.
As far as we know, Travis Tritt has not been accused of anything except delivering awesome country music for decades. He kept the white country western suit in business for...
Man, he kept leather crafters and fringe crafters in...
Guy's hands were bloody from making that fringe.
You bandage that. You don't get anything on that white leather.
What the fuck is this? My sleeves only have 3,000 pieces of hanging white fringe.
My fringe is only 6 inches long. I requested at least 18 inches.
When you're Travis Tritt, you can make those demands.
Hell yeah.
That's my goal one day. To look at you guys like Tritt looks at his seamstress and demand more stuff. We'll get there. Also that night, Claude has a dream of a filthy, near-naked demon man with glowing eyes invading their campsite. And right before the demon slits Pearl's neck, Claude wakes up from the horrible dream to a brand new day. Next stop on their journey, Bastrop. Is that a real tech?
Bastrop, yeah, it's right down the road.
Oh, that's a real place.
It is a real place.
Okay.
Right outside of Austin, Texas, which is really weird because they went from Kerrville north, even though they're heading south.
Well, they didn't have GPS. They're probably lost.
TNCC style.
TNCC style. A little too much of the whiskey at night. Just follow the sun.
Well, follow the roads that you know. So if they take you up and you have to go back over here, well,
That's true. You can't just cross Comanche territory.
No, you cannot.
Well, in Bastrop,
Not like
I'm guessing in the 1900s, Comanche territory was
not
still
like
there.
they have fast bicycles to go on.
was there still was there heavy Indian presence in the 1900s?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. Well, the gang and the Churchtown posse chasing them are now holed up at the same hotel.
Churchtown posse.
I'm gonna just call the sheriff the Churchtown posse.
The CTP.
The CTP. Claude learns of their presence by impersonating a bellboy in another kind of slapstick comedy moment.
It really kind of was.
It didn't work for me.
No.
They capture the bellboy, and then Claude puts on his little bellhop uniform and patrols the hallways to figure out what's going on. But he tells his team, rather than, hey, there's a posse here to kill us, let's get the fuck out of here, we'll just get up an hour earlier.
TNCC style.
TNCC style. Look, let's keep whoring and drinking. We'll just set our alarms for an hour earlier because they're going to want to sleep in. They're tired. And then we'll get out of here. We'll eat some breakfast soup, get our coffee, and then we'll be on our way. Well, at 5 a.m. Keep in mind, if the sheriff had set his alarm for 4:30, they'd be toast. But Claude is comfortable in his...
Mastermind.
Dude, that's Cade leadership. Should we get out of here at 3 in the morning, boss? 5-ish.
Easy.
Well, that will give him some time. You see why he makes this call. Because he's in bed with Pearl. And if they stay for a while, he can show her exactly why they call him Sweet Tooth. Which he hates that nickname, by the way. Of all the nicknames they could have gave me, why Sweet Tooth? What about Claudelicious?
Well, you don't get to pick your nickname.
No, you
this
don't.
is a known fact.
You do not get to...
I like to go by Claude Apocalypse.
No, I think she says something like that. You don't get to... That's a good point. All through college, I was known as Big Dick McCoolsville. I didn't choose it. It chose me. You were there.
It did not.
You were... you were there. Well, as now we go full force into a musical montage of the thieves riding while being tracked by the Churchtown posse, and a mysterious bounty hunter-like figure has joined the hunt. Just this weird random guy.
I kind of wasn't paying attention around this, so when...
Did you think like, oh, I missed something with
Yeah.
No, he just showed up.
It's just a big
I was just
bearded
waiting.
guy. Honestly, the fact that they did this, I was waiting for the song to kick in. It's a montage.
Well, it's a
motherfucking montage.
It's a very, very good musical montage of just them riding horses and traveling. I think it's a perfect time to call attention to the score by John Constant and Nick Durham. Whether it's the expected spaghetti western guitar twangs and melodies, which are very updated and produced, which I think works, or the sweeping horns and haunting bells that play, or in the case of Rudy's House of Horrors, it became like a throbbing, ambient, sinister kind of tone, this kind of pulsating, it wasn't really music at that point, it's just kind of sound design. The score's top notch, and the composers match the sonic vibe you hear to the visuals you're seeing on screen very, very well in this film.
I have a lot of problems with this movie, but sound design and music is definitely not one of them. You have
It was
a
one
very
of the
schizophrenic.
movie's strongest suits.
You have a very schizophrenic movie with a lot of different elements, and I thought that
the composers
the
kept
sound
up.
design, what I'm going off of, what the directors probably wanted, and that meeting with the sound guys and with the composers, I can only imagine what that meeting was like, and I think that they fulfilled that request.
If not exceeded it, they really kind of throw away whatever the music was in the scene before. They disregard it, and they just give this scene what it needs.
Yeah.
Completely disregarding what they have done previously. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that kind of chaotic spontaneity.
I
and
normally-
explode. but it all
I
feels
normally-
like the same.
See, that's what's weird is I normally don't like that chaotic of a transition.
Oh, I do. I love.
But it
crazy
worked.
scores.
It worked
And
well.
It feels like the same people behind the music to me.
Yeah, now that I will definitely agree, and I think that's an excellent point. I will say that the spaghetti western update I really loved. I'm sorry, I love that sound. I love just that spaghetti western.
Yeah, but it wasn't done. But it wasn't done cheesy. It wasn't done.
Well, some of it was, but
when it was supposed to.
When it was supposed to be, exactly.
When it was scoring the slapsticky stuff.
Yeah.
But no, it felt modern and it felt really well produced. I thought it was. I thought the music and the sound design. And I talk about it briefly with Brandon in our interview. The sound on location sound recording of this film. This film is 80% outdoors. There's no noticeable ADR, additional dialogue recording.
And that's tough.
That's tough.
So fucking tough.
These guys aren't horses talking. These guys are outside where you knew there was a million cicadas. And
oh, man.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Not
cicadas. But everything feels natural. Their dialogue feels natural. The sound team as a whole on this film gets an A+ from me.
I totally agree.
And it's usually one of the failing points of an independent film. And they if they get it right, a movie can go from lukewarm, in my opinion, to like, man, if I'm noticing how great the music and the dialogue is sounding, and even background stuff. Like, they'll be talking in the woods, and in the background you'll have a horse drinking out of a creek or something, and they'll put that sound in there.
Yeah,
I just appreciate those layers of texture.
Here's the way I kind of couch it. I think for people that have made movies, shorts, or are a fan of the production process, we pick up on that stuff.
It is a production nerd.
So the best compliment that I can give the sound guys is that you didn't snap me out of the movie.
No. And you watch a Western, or you
I didn't
watch
hear an inconsistent
You watch
part
anything, hell, we watched that Bruce Willis movie, and half the voices outside, they couldn't even be bothered to use Bruce Willis' voice. It's just some dude in the studio. I mean, they did it right here, so kudos for that. After another day of travel, the gang sets up yet another camp. Sweet Tooth Claude hears that twinkling bell sound that he keeps hearing out in the woods. He's been hearing it throughout the film, but they can't see any intruders out in the darkness. But lo and behold, the next morning, Claude wakes up and his treasure map is gone. The dude kept it in his boot all that time, and this dude loses it just like that. And Pearl's gone. The whore left. And young Willie's dead. Only not natural causes. His face has been slashed from ear to ear, like a Joker smile, just completely straight. Once again, Claude blames a rogue engine chasing after him.
And at this point in the game, Tut stops the party, and we're hunting rogue engines.
Yax, are you stopping everything to hunt this engine? Or are you going to keep moving?
I would keep moving, and I wouldn't stop.
I'm with him. I'm not going after him.
I
just keep.
I agree with Cody. Yeah.
Well, you just completely contradicted what you said you would do.
Well, a smart man, when hearing a better plan, adjusts course.
I like that.
You got to go with it.
I like that.
I'm sorry. The first thing.
Claude.
Well, I have some issues with this movie.
Claude orders Block to bury poor Willie. He didn't bury Tom, that old guy, but he wants to give.
He didn't like Tom.
He gives poor Willie a burial as he heads down to LaGrange nearby to retrieve a doctor for Slapjack, who's not looking so good these days.
All right, well, that's not too far away from Bastrop.
LaGrange, I only know from, wasn't that the ZZ Top song?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
It's in Central Texas.
Well, he brings back a doctor from LaGrange to look at Slapjack. And who is the doctor?
Dr. Pepperdine.
Dr. Pepperdine, played by?
Michael Berryman.
Michael Berryman of Hills Have Eyes fame. I love this guy.
And my favorite, Weird Science.
Weird Science.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of it.
Mutant number one.
He's been in a lot of 80s that was in that mutant alien ring.
But I love how this movie casts him as a normal doctor. They don't call attention to his physical appearance. It's just what you could have cast him as Rudy, the weirdo that makes the poison soup. You could have cast him as this horror,
slash icon.
Yeah, cast him according to type.
Yeah.
No, he plays this calm, gentle town doctor. I love that. I thought it was really good casting. I thought he did really good in it. Well, the bullet wound that Slapjack suffered to the foot is worse than they thought. The doctor tells him he's going to stay off it for at least a week once he takes the bullet out. And they're like, Doc, we're fugitives on the run from justice. We don't have a week. Well, there's only one other option then. Amputation.
Take it off.
Dude, this is where I lost my shit. Slapjack takes one look at the doctor. No! Don't lop off my Tootsie! Dude, that's what my kids call their feet. They're Tootsies. I've never heard an adult call it a Tootsie. Oh, that was good. But as they're lopping off Tootsies, the Churchtown Sheriff Posse is in LaGrange. Somehow kind of got ahead of them.
Yeah.
And when the beat-up doctor shows up, he helped them, and then they beat the shit out of him. But he shows up all bloody, and he tells the tale that the Sweet Tooth Gang, they know they're close. It's coming to a head. And guess who's also there to offer her help in apprehending the thieves to the posse? The whore, Pearl. Although now she's going by Ruby. Call me Ruby, and I'll help you get these guys.
Thanks, Ruby.
Thanks, Ruby. I'm guessing Claude maybe wasn't... His sweet tooth wasn't as good in the sack as he thought it was. Isn't there a scene where they're in bed together and like they show him going downstairs? She's like, off camera, you hear her say like, "Oh, sweet tooth." Did I imagine that?
I don't know.
I think you did, but it works. It works perfectly.
Well, the gang takes yet another ill-advised nap. They're always taking naps at campfires. Seems like they sleep more than they rise. And when they wake up, Goody, the tracker, he's got one of his voodoo dolls pinned to the side of his dead face.
Okay,
and he's been gutted up through his torso. He's dead.
So basically, if we go to sleep, one of us dies.
Well, Slapjack says they should just call it Tits Up and head back to New Mexico, which would have been another good title for this movie.
Tits Up to Mexico.
Tits Up to Mexico. Come on, that's a good one.
But at the same time, you fall asleep, someone dies.
Well, they can't just keep staying awake.
Well, maybe post a guard?
Well, no, they do post guards every night. The guards fall asleep. They're like us. They drink. I'm going to stay up. I got
first watch.
I got first watch. Where's the whiskey? All right, guys. Y'all get some shut-eye.
Wait, no, I know this story.
I got this. 2 minutes later. You didn't see that. Claude is having none of it as far as going back to Mexico. Once they hear the sound of the Galveston waves crashing against the shore, everything will be A-okay. That night, yes, once again, already we're at another campfire scene. We just left the campfire napping scene. We're at another napping scene. Well, their horses are tired. They have to take a break.
Horses are animal. They have to slow down.
Claude hears the twinkling bells once again as Big Block goes missing. Claude tries to draw the mysterious tracker out, shooting wildly with his gun, but eventually gives up, pushes his back up against Slapjack's back as they aim their pistols into the darkness. I thought that was a good scene.
I actually did.
Because it was so dark. Like, literally, it was them with their backs against each other looking at just nothingness.
I wonder if that's the scene where Brandon talks about.
Could be.
Yeah.
But when the light of day hits, they do find that Block is dead, and Claude and Slapjack are now surrounded by the sheriff's posse.
Yeah.
After they shoot the sheriff's deputy, Claude and Slapjack flee to a giant red barn nearby, where the sheriff decides to smoke them out. Throws a lantern in there and throws a cigarette in, and I'll smoke them out with fire.
I'm sorry. When Merle Haggard goes up to the barn and he opens the window that the fugitives are hiding in, they could have easily blown his face off.
Right, shooting him out of that window a second earlier. He's like, "I got this." No, he didn't have his gun out. He's like, "I'll put my gun up." I'll run up to the window where they were just at, and I'll throw some fire in there. Yeah, it was kind of nonsensical.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Or just incredibly bold.
No, it's indie.
But as the barn smokes out, they ride off out the back. Of course, they got a back door. They ride off their horses out the back door, and Sweet Tooth shoots the sheriff dead. No more posse to contend with. But it's the end. It's the end of the trail for Slapjack.
Slapjack gets.
He took yet another bullet from the sheriff.
Yeah.
And he's on his last breath. He can't do this anymore.
Poor Slapjack, man.
Claude tries to save his friend.
Who's the most likable guy in the movie?
Well, Claude tries to save him, but you can only,
He does.
You can only patch an inner tube so many times.
Yeah.
This guy's full of holes.
And it's funny because you talk about, like, if you listen to the interview with Brandon, and he talks about the tonal shifts between really dark and, the light comedy that Slap and the actor that played him, presents. One of the things that I like about it is that Slap's portrayal and Justin's taking care of him kind of endears you a little bit to Justin, who's the leader of a bad gang. He's not a likable guy, but here you are. You kind of can empathize with Justin because he's taking care of Slap.
You got if your main focus of the movie, any movie, is making unlikable characters likable, you got to show them have some compassion for someone other than themselves. Dusk Till Dawn, perfect example. George Clooney, when he starts looking out for the family they've kidnapped, and outside his own little bubble, and even his psycho brother Richie, he still cares about.
Yeah,
it adds a humanity to him, and that you got to have that. Well, Slapjack does tell Claude though that when he finds the gold in the well at the coast, he needs to pull on the pigging string. So surely that'll be a helpful tip for him. Whatever the pigging string is.
You need to tell this because Slapjack got caught up by the night ghost.
Oh, did he get visited during the night?
Oh, hell yeah. It's like one of the grossest scenes in there.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, they Mexican bow-tied Slapjack.
Yeah, okay.
They literally cut his tongue or cut his throat and pulled his tongue down through his throat.
Okay, that's a Mexican bow tie, apparently.
It was... The one thing that I will say about this movie is that their practical effects was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, no, all the even the digital bullet wounds, when they initially happen, they don't overdo it with CGI blood, and then
some of it's pretty bad.
But they quickly cut to the bodies with real prosthetic bullet wounds and stuff. They're good about that.
I will say that some of the CGI and the digital post effects, I was just kind of like, that missed the mark a lot. But their practical effects were awesome.
Even Rudy's burnt corpse, when they show it smoldering, when the fake skull, I mean, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, their practical was really, really good. Whoever the I didn't check to see who the special effects guy was.
The practical stuff was well done. Well, after Slapjack dies, Claude decides to set up camp for another night. I don't think he's even gone anywhere this time. He set up camp right where he was.
You can't go but so far, and your horse is tired. You gotta set.
But he hasn't even gone. I think this is like a whole day that he just doesn't go anywhere.
Well, if you're going from Bastrop or LaGrange to down to Corpus Christi on horseback, it's going to take you a while.
That night,
and all of a sudden, I'm starting to talk a little about Slim Pickens.
We're gonna eat a shitload of dimes. Well, that night he has another dream where the glowing-eyed demon slits Slapjack's throat, and that's when he wakes up in the morning and Slapjack has the...
Oh, okay.
That's afterward. I was getting there. In an interesting and totally unpredictable move, Claude then seemingly puts his revolver to his head upon seeing Slapjack.
No, it wasn't predictable. Slapjack begged him.
No. After he kills Slapjack, in a totally unpredictable move, we see a wide shot of Claude
putting it up. He puts it in his mouth.
Well, you kind of can't see how he does it, and he puts a gun to his own head and shoots it and falls down. It looks like he just blew his own brain.
Yeah,
He gave up.
at this point, I'm like, wait, what?
I can't deal with this. I'm out. That's TCC stuff. It looks like he blows his own brains out.
He does.
As he lies there motionless on the ground, a young boy emerges from the woods and brands him with a strange circular mark that has been found on all these mysterious
the corpses,
deaths.
yeah.
Block, Goody, they all had this little circle. But just then, Claude pops up. He faked his death. He didn't really shoot himself. And he strangles the little shit. Who was the kid? Well, remember Rudy, the psychotic serial killer with the Bill Cosby
Poisons
soup?
with the Bill Cosby
Bill
soup.
Cosby soup. Well, that little boy down in the cellar, it's him. When he dumped his wife in the cellar, we saw he had a young son trapped down there, and that is this kid. I'm not sure if that makes sense at this point, why this kid is I guess he got out of the cellar and is tracking them for killing his dad.
Who locked him up and killed his
treated him
mom.
like shit. I don't really know what's going on there. But we immediately cut to Claude on the beaches of Galveston. He got there. After he kills the kid, he strangles the kid to death, and then boom, he's on the beaches of Galveston.
Yeah.
Which I love because in Westerns, you don't see a lot of coastal stuff.
Yeah.
True.
That's a landscape you don't see in a lot of Westerns.
Yeah.
I thought they could have actually done more with it. I would have liked to see a big wide shot. They're on
Like
like
the dunes.
yeah, just I mean it was different, but I would have liked to like, oh man, let's really get into this coastal Galveston. Well, the bearded bounty hunter, remember I briefly mentioned him, that's also been tracking him. He's been built up to be this kind of total badass dog the bounty hunter, mysterious
I would
man.
have liked to see more of him because
Yeah, but guess what? They have a brief encounter, and Claude shoots him in the neck and kills him, and he's gone. There's no like big moment. There's nothing. He's like,
and he's got the actor's got a good look to him, and I'm like,
he shoots him he shoots Claude in the leg, which doesn't drop him down. I mean, I'm like, you just shot another dude in the leg with a 45. That's a big hole.
game over.
Game over.
You're not walking.
well, he shoots the guy in the neck and he's dead. We never learned why he was following him. We never learned who he was. That's that. So Claude finds the well. It's a water well on the Galveston shore where the gold was dumped. And just as he starts pulling up the last pigging string, like Slapjack told him, it's a string, and as he pulls it up, there's just bag after bag of gold that he's yanking up. Huge bags of gold coins. An identical child to the one he just strangled to death shows up and tosses Claude's ass down into the well. But not before showing Sweet Tooth a photograph, which explains it all to Claude. It turns out Rudy the psycho had two twin sons. The one he strangled that was in the basement.
The good son.
The good son and this evil son. And as Claude screams out from the bottom of the well, where he sees the decomposing body of Pearl the whore, she remembered that he said it was in a well, and she tried to get there first, and I guess this kid was waiting and threw her ass in there.
I do like when real quick, when Claude's on the well and the kid's knocking over the gold bags to throw him into the well, and right before Claude's clawing to the side of this well, just barely hanging on, looking at the kid. Why are you so evil?
He's evil twin.
I for some reason I like that line. Why are you so evil?
It's always good when evil guys call other guys evil. I knew you were evil back when we were raping your sister.
And it's one of those things where it's like, am I supposed to feel bad for the bad guy?
Well, that's what makes hopefully good cinema. Well, we leave Claude down there at the bottom of the well. Nobody's going to come for his ass. He's toast. Screaming his head off with Pearl down there by his side. And we see the evil twin walk off down the Galveston coast.
I guess it's the body of his other twin on the horseback?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He scooped up his brother, and he see him walking off in a wide shot, and that's the end of the film.
All right. I do like the fact that as it cuts to a wide scene of the well looking over the ocean, which, by the way, you can't dig a well that close to the ocean without running into water.
It might kind of fill up.
Yeah. But I like the fact that you see this approaching storm. You've got some lightning going on. You got a storm coming in there.
And isn't that kind of redundant? A well right by the ocean?
Yeah. Well, it just... you don't have that much to the sea level. So you're going to get a bunch of salt water into that.
I've discovered water.
No.
Oh.
So you've got this dry well next,
It was a dry well. There was no water.
20 feet away from the ocean shore. You see the storm coming across, and then as the credits roll, you get a whole bunch of news clippings from the Galveston hurricane, which at the time, the Galveston hurricane was horrific. It was like it was basically like the Katrina of today. Correct. It was like a huge loss of life. It was just a horrific natural disaster in terms of hurricanes at that time. And it pretty much solidified that the hurricane pretty much killed Claude. Or so you think.
He's going to die down there anyway.
True.
And then there's a little post log after the credits you'll see where the evil twin, it turns out that was Donald Trump's father.
No, I did not see that.
Makes perfect sense.
Doesn't it?
Hans Trump.
The end. You know what? I said this before and I'll say it again. I'm not a fan of Westerns, but I do like talking about them with you guys. They're not something I watch with any regularity on my own. When I was younger, I kind of dug them, but I just kind of not so much anymore. But I really do like getting into the meat and potatoes of them with you guys, because it is such an interesting genre. And it's weird that in the last couple of years, it seems like indie filmmakers have been more and more
They are gravitating a little
going
bit
back to it. I mean, we've seen in the Valley of Violence we did here on the show, which was a recent one. This one,
Netflix has a lot of them coming up.
If you like Trace Atkins.
No, but they have like Godless, which they're pushing real hard right now. It's a Netflix original.
Deadwood was extremely popular for HBO.
Well, Deadwood was like, what, 15 years ago?
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a ripe time period in our country where
the Western, in terms of global culture, is iconically American. There's no other country that does a Western in terms of their,
except Italy.
Cultural media.
Spaghetti Westerns were pretty great.
Again, talking about America.
True. But as a whole, I gotta say, I got a kick out of the movie.
Yeah.
Boy, a lot of head scratching, a lot of I would have done that different.
Well,
this didn't really make sense, but
I
thought it had enough going for it, and I thought the performances as a whole were enough. I thought that was
this is a hard movie for me because as a creative, as a guy behind the curtain, I understand the difficulties of making something like this.
It's a hard genre to pull off on a low budget.
It's extremely hard. The movie itself is not something that I'd want to revisit. I'm not going to watch this again on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I don't want that to be the final verdict of what it took to make this.
Yeah. No, I think as a Western story, it succeeded.
I liked it in terms of a Texas story. As a Texas homegrown guy, it's kind of interesting. I really had a weird parallel between this and Underbelly.
It did. I'm glad you picked that up. I mean, it reminded me a lot of my film.
It really did, to where it was like, I almost was like, dude, do you know these directors?
No, never met them.
Have you talked to them? Have they seen Underbelly?
Well,
it was like Underbelly set in the 1900.
The crew dynamic was pretty
weird.
Identical.
You had characters in this movie that were characters in your movie.
I couldn't say this.
You had
I look like a dickhead.
No, it was really weird because I was just kind of like, I knew the thought process for why you chose this film, and it had nothing to do with this being similar to Underbelly.
No, I picked this film because, one, I knew the director of photography, and I thought we'd get him on, which you're about to hear his interview. So I thought, we've never done that before. We've never had a creative from the film side.
Right, and I love that.
We've had cigar guys tell us why their cigars are great, what went into making a cigar. Tell me about what went into making the film, which Brandon's going to do a really good job of doing.
I told my wife when she was like, because there's some films where I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll watch this together, and then there's some films where I'm like, no, we're not going to watch this together. And then she was like, so how was your film? And I was like, Matt Kay directed a Western.
Which is weird because I would do totally different things here, but
this was Underbelly as a Western.
It really
was
from the drastic changes of mood and tone to the dynamic of the crew. It was very
the only thing
similar.
missing was Justin doing a musical number.
Well, there was that, and obviously, if I directed, I would have had a lot more TNA in this thing.
A lot more boobs.
Way more boobs. How are you going to do a whorehouse shootout without any boobs?
Good question.
You don't sell the steak, boys. You sell the sizzle.
I'm so sorry. I'm resigning.
Oh, damn it. Now he's suing me. Yeah, and you know what? It was telling when you listen to the interview with Brandon that he didn't pick up on that. And you know why? If you listen to him, and this is like with all these crew guys, that this is what they do for a living. He's done 100 things since Underbelly.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember. I mean, he remembers the nuts and bolts, like a day on set or whatever. But he would never in a million years. They're like, oh, this reminds me of that scene I shot, or this crew. He's a production guy. He wasn't there for the.
Yeah.
He wasn't invested in the character side of it, but. Yeah, watch Kill or Be Killed, then go to the TNCC YouTube channel, watch my movie Underbelly, and see if you agree. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's ballsy to do a Western, and I think whatever their budget was, they succeeded.
I liked it
more than they failed.
I was really interested in the editing that the producers, once it got picked up. Once the money got behind it and got thrown to Netflix, producers came in and apparently started editing the shit out of this movie. It's interesting how you have the director's vision of it, and we kind of address this with I don't know if we've done it on the show. I think we've done it on the show. I know we've done it at the pub. We've talked about Ridley Scott and to where his story of Blade Runner versus the original producer's cut of Blade Runner was like, it changed the story. Here, you're seeing the producer's editing of the director's version of this story, which, I'm listening to Brandon and I'm like, I kind of want to see what the directors
like
were
you
doing
said,
on this.
I wouldn't necessarily sit down and watch this again, but I would certainly sit down and watch a working cut of what the directors wanted to do.
I do, because there's a lot of the tonal schizophrenia of the movie might have been resolved if we'd seen the cut footage.
And a lot of the character curiosities, Block, where does he get this religious things in this circumstance and not this? I think there probably was some development there that that got lost through the cracks. But yeah, you guys check it out and let us know what you think. Right now, we are going to kick it over to an interview that we did with the director of photography, Brandon Torres, before tonight's show. It's a good, if you're interested in the nuts and bolts of what it takes to make an independent Western, I think you'll enjoy this. And then we'll come back afterwards and close this thing out like we do every night. But enjoy our chat with Brandon Torres. Which brings us to tonight's film, Kill or Be Killed, 2015. Watch on Netflix. You boys, Netflix. directed by Dwayne Graves and Justin Meeks. Cinematography by some guy named Brandon Torres. I know I don't usually mention right up front the cinematographers.
No, you don't.
There's a good reason for that. He's joining us right now. You're going to see a little picture pop up on the bottom of your YouTube screen of a smiling, handsome gentleman. Brandon Torres is a old friend of mine. We actually did a film together, and I don't even know how long ago that was. Too damn long. How's that?
I don't want to date ourselves.
No, I don't either. You can watch Underbelly on the Tuesday Night Cigar Club YouTube channel. It's out there, and Brandon did wonderful work on that as well. He was my gaffer extraordinaire. He made all the naked painted bodies. The light made the light dance off their curves and their. He's a really talented guy, and when I knew we were looking for a Southern film to do, and I saw this, I knew it would give us a chance to. We don't do this a lot. We talk with cigar guys, but we and I'd like to do more of this where we get some film folks on the show and kind of fill us in on some things about the movie. When did y'all make this, Brandon? 2015, 14?
Year before, maybe somewhere maybe year before that, something like that.
Okay.
Year and a half of that. I can't remember. It's all a haze right now.
Okay, well, welcome to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club. Hayes is our middle name. This is a full-blown Western. I mean, you got horses. Is this your first feature? Is this
got horses and guns? It's a real Western.
This is not my first feature. I did a couple of other features. 3 features before this. This is the first one I actually let people know that I did.
I made that mistake with Matt Cade.
Hey.
Remember, I was gaffer on that one, so I really don't have any right to claim anything on that one. I remember the day I walked in on working on Underbelly. It was called something else though at first. What was it called?
Working title was On the Road Side of Town.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. I remember walking in there, and I remember the day that we were doing all the naked bodies and stuff, and I was just looking around, and I looked over at Richard, and I go, my life isn't half bad. I mean, there were things I could be doing.
There was very few complaining by the crew guys that night for some reason. Yeah.
We're all on best behavior, of course, but at the same time, we're like, we could be working an office job. Fuck it.
It was a taxing but a fun 10 days. I'll give you that. I imagine you had a more generous shooting schedule on Kill or Be Killed.
I would like to say yes, but we did 6-7 pages a day on Kill or Be Killed. We had 6 weeks. And we traveled from, a lot of that is the travel in between. We went all the way from Van Horn, Texas, way, way off West Texas, all the way down to Corpus Christi. And lost 18 tires along the way. And I think we hit a total of maybe just as many locations. So almost as many locations as we lost tires.
Wow. And
it was, I think someone went to jail. Someone was actually one of our producers got poison ivy so bad it made his entire face close up. Yeah, we had a lot of stories from that whole thing. Like, whatever could go wrong went wrong. My 2 good buddies are the directors on that, Dwayne and Justin. Those guys stuck their neck out to make this thing, and even they will tell you, it is what it is. It's not everything they wanted it to be right now, but dude, they're like 3 movies in, and this is the one that actually got the second one that got sold and got put out there. And those guys, they risk everything. They put their neck out. They put their neck on the line to get stuff done. They're amazing to work with. Amazing to work with.
Well, and especially I guess it's Justin who also is the lead, playing lead too. So directing on top of being the lead performer, that's got to be just I can't even imagine.
It was pretty tough. He's kind of a method actor. And so a lot of the way he directed had to do with how, I guess in a way, Claude would possibly direct. So because it was between him and Dwayne, and they had a back and forth, always back and forth, always back and forth. And a lot of people were worried that, they're bickering, but I think that's how they got through some of the better ideas, is that neither of them were ever going to say, yes, I will do whatever you want to each other. They have this understanding that they intentionally are friends because they are not each other's yes man. They challenge each other every step of the way. Dwayne would walk away. He goes, there goes. He wouldn't even refer to him as Justin. He'd go, good old Claude, good old Claude. He'd joke around, and Dwayne had his own little country accent he'd do, and he'd joke around, good old Claude. Claude wants it this way, Claude wants it that way. But he'd joke because Justin was insane working on that thing. He very method, but very, very much. There's moments we're scared of him, but at the same time he'd snap right out of it, and then he'd be just back to Justin, and we just didn't know. It's almost like working with somebody that's bipolar. He just snapped in and out of crazy, and then I've got to do something like sign paperwork.
Well, it's funny you say bipolar, because the movie to me has so many tonal shifts, from comedy to really dark on the flip of a dime, and some of the comedy is like Naked Gun, Police Squad type goofball stuff, and then the next minute you've got like this guy preying on a little girl in a really dark scene, and it kind of, in a way, not to keep going back to my movie Underbelly, but I mean Underbelly had those tonal shifts where it kind of frustrated people, where we try to make you laugh, and then the next minute we try to make you throw up, and this movie does kind of tonally go all over the place. Was that? Yeah. Did you know that? I mean, were you? Did you get that from the script, or was that on the page?
We read the script. I think a couple of us realized that the character Slap would be a little bit. He'd be a little heavy-handed if he didn't guide. They didn't guide it. But the reality is what the heck's his name? It's awful that I'm not remembering his name. Boyington played Slap. Look him up. IMDb. Kill or Be Killed. Either way, so when he came in, he did all this stuff, and we're like, wow, that's over the top. It's over the top. It's a little too funny. But there's a certain aspect to that character that made Claude almost feel like almost like he had to babysit him, like he was his younger brother in a way. Like he treated him like he had to constantly watch after him. So we let it go, and there's a longer cut that is a lot darker. Obviously, when you sell something, producers get their hands in it, and they start going, well, this is a little too dark, this is a little too messed up, this is a little too intense. And so they decided to pull some of the darker stuff out, which made it feel more bipolar. Yeah. And, they needed to slow the thing down. And Slap, basically, his character all over was just, it was goofy. He was goofy, and it wasn't necessarily, like at the time we were like, okay, well, we could balance this because we've done some really messed up stuff. Yeah. And we've had the characters get to a really dark point.
When you do a balance, and then all of a sudden you're pulling out that darkness, then you're left more with all the happy stuff, the slappy stuff. I get it.
Right. And there's that scene where like he's gotten his finger cut off, and there's a lot of darkness that went into that scene beforehand that led up to that, and then they decided edit-wise, well, let's just get straight to that a lot faster, and it leads a lot funnier. Some of that, I remember at the moment Dwayne was like, I'm not sure, like I want to let him play, because no matter what, the guy did variants on everything. The guy did all types of things. He's incredible in front of the camera. I think Dwayne had to look at it and go, well, I'm doing some messed up stuff in this movie so much that I kind of have to have some sense of comedy. And I think because the original cut was so dark, they really, really put a stranglehold on it. So, I get it, because Dwayne Dwayne really pushed the envelope. Like that whole scene with that whole scene where Blocky goes into the little girl's the outhouse with the little girl. It's we all felt really weird shooting it, and even the actor, it was really kind, really nice guy. He felt a little weird, and he had to go talk to the child. He had to go talk to the girl, and he had to go talk to people. Like, they're not, the way we shot it, she's not actually involved in a lot of the creepy stuff.
Yeah.
It's just editing. But
I was about to say, I feel for your editor. He's got to feel creepy after that.
Yeah. That was one of those things that, like, even the day we shot it, and I remember shooting this the scene with the girl's feet, and I'm just feeling like I got up and I go, what am I shooting? What am I doing with my life? I feel like, and it's dark. I mean, there's a certain point. I really wish they put the stuff in there that didn't apologize at all. Like, because Dwayne and Justin have no problem making it darker. They will make something incredibly dark. But the problem being is, I think that when you're this new in the indie world, you're kind of handheld a little bit. People don't want you to get that dark yet. People don't want you to push a boundary.
Yeah.
And it sucked because those guys, if they were given the opportunity and they were really given the budget, I think they can make something that could probably really psychologically mess with people. I mean, you could tell it's there.
Yeah.
You could tell it's there, and it was a balancing act, and I think they just had to lean one direction once producers got their hands on it.
That makes sense. From a cinematography standpoint, I thought you did some really, really cool stuff as far as the night exteriors. I don't know. There's maybe 85, 90 campfire scenes.
Oh, there's a ton.
Did you guys just knock those out like in one night? Like, all right, let's move another fake tree, and I mean, these guys must have had like 100 campfires.
I know. I wish though, because like it would have been so much easier. But it's kind of like every new location we went to. The question was, are we going to have a campfire scene? Yes, yes. Like I almost got to the point where like, oh, we're at the brothel. Are we going to have a campfire scene in the brothel? I almost expected it.
Yes, we have the room right down the hall.
I mean, those aren't easy scenes to shoot by any means.
No, not at all. So the crazy thing about it is I spent a lot of time. Anytime that we did something where I'm dealing with any kind of firelight, we had flicker magic gadgets all over the place, flicker boxes, creating all variant flickering. And I even had my cam ops look at me and go, you realize that very few people are going to see this flickering feel. And I'm like, they're not going to totally see it or pay attention to it, but they will feel it. There's a certain aspect, subconsciously you get this idea of this weird flickering.
Oh, absolutely.
That happens. And when we played with the campfire stuff, like I'd shoot the fire for a little bit. I'd say, get rid of the fire. Let's just make it my gag. And we just do the gag over and over again and get around it. And the reason I think we did a lot of those is because campfires, if you went back and you looked over that stuff, a lot of that moment is when the first time they got a chance to actually sit down and talk to each other. Because if you're riding on horses, you're riding, kind of in a trail, or you're riding in a way that you can't talk to everybody. Plus, we actually cut down on a lot of our horse stuff where we did have them riding on horses real slow, talking to each other, because the horses they brought in were horses from Galveston that I think it was it was Port A. I don't remember, somewhere around there. These horses weren't used to the new land or the land that we're dragging them from one side of Texas to the next. And the horses were pretty pissed. I mean, these animals don't like to travel. I mean, who likes to travel like that, cooped up, and then all of a sudden get out and push you to perform? We did everything. I mean, trust me, the way they handled those horses was with kid gloves. They were wonderful with them. Yeah. The horse wrangler himself was incredible. We had 2 of them. They were both amazing, and I just feel like they cut out a lot of it. So then there was like, well, how do we get them to sit down and talk? Well, campfire. We got to sit down and have them just talk at a fire. And then it got to the point where it's like, well, it's another fire, and it's like, well, where else are they going to go? They don't really have any buildings to go to. They don't really have any hotels to go to. I mean, they had one time that we show that and it's, that's one of the few times that we got a chance. And instead of showing them talking, we show all of them playing card games in one, and then Claude and
Pearl,
Ariana's character, like them having, them getting it on with a dude tied up in the corner. So.
I actually liked it because the campfire serves two really good mechanics. One, it creates an intimate setting so your characters can all, bond that way, and your viewer bonds with the characters. And then two, it can also be creepy for like when the nighttime creepiness starts happening. So it's a very easy way to introduce both themes.
Agreed.
There was a line.
And I just thought from a technical standpoint, I mean, shooting at night's a bitch, no matter, you're in the city. But when you're out in the country, I mean, to get the kind of detail and that natural, like you said, that just that little attention with the flicker boxes. And this movie, what it does really good, more so than I think than anything else, is in the cinematography and in the sound design. And because not only sound design, but the actual location sound recording.
Yeah.
For a movie that's 90% outdoors, this does not have the horrible ADR that's often equated with indie film. Yeah. This doesn't have the shitty audio on location, outside audio that's associated with indie films. The dialogue was recorded masterfully, and what Brandon was talking about as far as putting a flicker of light in the corner, who's going to notice? It's just texture. It's there, and it will help the... Same thing with the sound design. When I'm watching a dialogue scene and I can hear a horse eating in the far distance, or like I just picked up on so many sounds that I knew were put there, artificially. But that attention to layers and layers of detail building up, this film does.
But I see the same.
You very rarely see it, and I do appreciate it.
I see the same challenges, and you said this was a 18-day shoot. No, 18 locations, 6 weeks.
6 weeks, 18 locations. Well, roughly around 18 locations, but definitely 18 tires were blown. So around the same amount of tires blown as locations.
You've got
6 weeks.
You've got all those locations stretched out across time. But like you said, you got a whole bunch of outdoor shots. That's very tough to match up in camera.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was. There was only one time that I had a Condor and was able to put moonlight out, and I had to fight and put my foot down that it was this one scene because there is no campfire.
Brandon, for our listeners, what is a Condor?
Condor is be honest, it's just one of those big lifts that you have when they have to repair electrical lines. They call them a Condor on set, but it's one of those big genie lifts.
A cherry picker?
Ones.
Like a cherry picker?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you
Boom
go.
lift.
It's a cherry picker, but it's the bigger, giant one.
So you wanted a moon? You wanted a moonshot
platform.
Oh yeah.
Got it.
I needed the moon, and this was the only time I was going to get it, and I had to fight for it because I was like, you guys aren't giving me fire, because I have to light with something.
Right.
And even though everybody's like, oh, the red, light. Well, that's bullshit.
Speaking of
bullshit. You can shoot in low light, but light is the key. You still have to have light. If you're out in the middle of the field and it's dark and you don't even have really that much moonlight because we shot in November, it was pretty tough. And man, getting that out there was a pain in the ass. But I had an amazing crew. Will Penston was my gaffer on this, and he just I feel bad because being a gaffer, I often know what it's like to work with a DP who's asking for all these things, and I usually walk away and I'm like, cursing his name, going, that motherfucker, this and that, So I just assumed, I just kind of hung my head and was like, okay, I'm pretty sure he's kind of pissed at me, but he got it done. I demanded some pretty big things from him, and he rose to the occasion every time. I was really, really excited about it. The guy just, hand over fist, was like one of the most important people every day to me. He was the person I was going out of my way going, how can I make his job easier? How can I make him happy? Because he was incredible. He was incredible. He's willing to just jump in with me head first.
See, that's something I never considered making movies as far as making other people happy.
Yeah,
and I heard you mumbling that shit about me, Brandon, every day. But, but that's enough. We won't harp on the past. We left as friends. That's all that matters.
Yeah, it's his past. It's my present.
And here's a filmmaking tip for all you new beginners out there. If you really want to keep your crew from bitching and moaning, hire a female director of photography, because when she doesn't bitch at 3 a.m,
true,
none of these guys are going to say shit. And yeah,
it's true. But here's the thing: Sky made all of the G&E look like a bunch of babies. I kid you not.
Yeah, Sky Borbin was my cinematographer on Underbelly, and you guys actually worked really well together. You guys created.
She's amazing. I contacted her recently, and I was sending her my stuff and just kind of going, "Hey, I've grown up."
Yeah, we were all just babies back then. Hey, speaking of night shots, real quick, was the lightning in the film? Was that CG, or did you actually capture some lightning?
That was post. That was post. We tried to go out of our way to capture stuff, but it was like, we didn't, there was no storms whatsoever. It was just like, no clouds, and that's it. So we thought
it looked good. It looked. I was on the fence with it. That is one of the things that we always get complimented on with Underbelly. Remember, we captured all that great heat lightning in the opening scene, and everybody thinks it's fake, and it's like, because it's like shooting at the perfect moments. It's like, no, shit's real. Like, it just
that just happened. And I remember we were freaking out and going, it's going to rain on us. It's going to rain on us. And then we just kept shooting through it.
It was like 6 hours of... It was like 6 hours of amazing just heat lightning, just all across the sky. It was beautiful.
Incredible. And we really were hoping for that. Like, we had nights where we thought it was coming, and then it just was clouds, and that's it. And we're like, this sucks. So we kind of we kept saying that in Galveston that's what we wanted. We knew we weren't going to get it, but we knew if we could get the sky a little bit. I got clouds. I got various things. I got a lot of plates of things. I'm sure they used some of the plates to put the clouds together, because we tried to do a few things with that. But most of that, I'm pretty sure, is maybe 10% of composite of stuff we shot, and the rest of it's just created.
Well,
it was gorgeous.
You did a great job matching scene from scene, because there was I know having that many varied locations has got to be playing, and then plus also your nighttime to daytime stuff. That's just got to be murder. A couple of scenes that I really, really liked. Claude killing the Mexican was really, really kind of cool. And framing wise, between the Mexican and then I was kind of curious. There's the upshot on Claude, where Claude's very frame right, and he got a bunch of open space on there. Was there any particular thought process on that? Because I liked it, because you got a lot of that open space. You got the trees coming up behind him. He's very dominant on the right, but it kind of isolates him and his target. It's kind of one of these things to where it's funny. Like, you sit there and you watch and you think, oh, well, the cinematographer wanted this and the director is trying to get this emotion across. No, that's just how it happens.
I'm sorry, which death is this?
Oh, it was about midway through the movie, I think.
Yeah. Mexican guy who's trying to hold back a woman who's trying to run away. Yeah. And actually, to be honest, the original way we shot it, there was a lot of TNA or T in the shot.
I was actually surprised. Like, you saw a little bit of nipple on this.
No nipple. And
then there was a teeny one there.
Originally there was a lot, but it shows for a brief flash. It's there. You see it, and you do see it. And then, but it's one of those you'd have to go back and search for it, because they cut it down, because originally they, when you go to the American film market, they always do that thing where it's like, well, we need violence, nudity, and, these specific things that they ask for, or they won't sell your movie. And so these guys were like, well, we've got to follow through at least with some of the stuff, the sexy stuff, and they put it in, but then editing wise, I think even Dwayne was like, it's superfluous, it's stupid, it looks like we're intentionally just showing boobs in this shot, which
I thought it would have worked.
Yeah, I thought it would have too.
I think this thing needed way, way, way more boobs.
They did a movie before this called Butcher Boys, and with Butcher Boys they had no boobs, and they didn't have any boobs, they didn't have any stuff, but they had a girl that she opens up her top and she's supposed to flash these guys, and they see it from behind. And what's funny is the way I met Justin and Dwayne was they called me up and they go, well, we got a lot of pickup shots we need to do. And I was like, oh yeah, what are the shots? They go, well, we need tits here, we need tits here, we need tits here, we need tits here. And I was like, so you basically called me up to just be the guy to shoot a bunch of random boobs.
Where do I sign?
That was my job. So I just shot a bunch of random boobs and was like, all right. And then I had to match the lighting to what they already did. And that's when we all goofed off, laughed, and they were like, we like working with this guy. Let's try and bring him in on this next thing. And voila, that's how that happened. So thanks to Justin Warren, actually, on that one.
Oh, another Underbelly crew member.
Yeah. He was the guy who got me involved with Butcher Boys, and that it goes from there.
Yeah, sometimes when I sit back, I'll just think of all the young, talented guys I discovered back in the day, and to see them thrive and flourish out in the entertainment industry, it warms my heart to see you guys doing so good.
You know, Justin's doing Black Lightning right now.
I do. I don't say a lot, but I do follow you guys on Facebook, and I'm always so happy when you guys are doing good. And
Right.
It's a weird industry in that, either you leave a project. My experiences anyway. Either you leave a project with kind of a strong emotional attachment to your crew, or the exact opposite, and you just never want to see these fuckers again. And with Underbelly, I got really lucky in that. I had this hardcore group of just young guys who were just super talented, and they're still doing it, and they're doing even better.
I'm actually going to go work with Richard in the next 3 days. I go to work with Richard. He's going to be he and I are working on a feature in Dallas.
Oh, cool. Richard Porter was my key grip on Underbelly, so he's all over the place. He does everything up in North Texas. Well, man, I just I was real proud of you watching this movie, Brandon, because
thank you.
Westerns are hard. We've done quite a few of them here on the show. I'm not actually a fan of the genre myself. These guys are. We've done a few modern stuff. The Travolta one, Valley of Violence. Then we've gone all the way back to
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time, and which one we do in America or
Once Upon a Time in the West?
Once Upon a Time in the West.
Nice.
And Venice.
And Once Upon a Time in Venice. That's a totally different story.
Took place out west.
It was out west. Real quick, let me just ask you, and then we won't keep you much longer. Did the directors have you sit down and watch certain westerns for a visual stimulation, or did they actually give you scenes from films and say this is what for instance, the scene where they take refuge in the psycho serial killer's the old Rudy guy's house, who's just killed his wife right before they showed up, and he poisons everyone's soup. To me that had a very Hans Landa, Inglourious Bastards kind of vibe to it. I think his name was even Rudy Goebbels, like in the Goebbels. It's like a Mexican guy named Goebbels. That was first of all, he was amazing. That actor,
Pepe Serna.
Pepe Serna was amazing.
Yeah, he was in Scarface.
Was he? Oh,
Yeah.
was he the little guy?
Yes. Now I'm surprised you didn't recognize him. He's been tons. If you were a child of the '80s, man, every TV show, Knight Rider, A-Team, Miami Vice.
I was about to say, was he the guy in Miami Vice, the little snitch guy?
Yeah, he was. He did that. Besides, Scarface was a huge film, but he also did Caddyshack 2. He did.
Well, he's really gotten old over the last 40 years.
Well, that happens. It happens.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Hey, it happens to all of us. Look at you.
Well, Pepe Serna was really, really. He was one of the standouts in this movie. I actually thought they were going to spend a lot more.
The guy playing opposite of him. You know who was playing opposite of him, right?
The first guy that dies in his soup.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
Leatherface.
Oh, I think I did know from part 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I knew.
No, I think part 2. Part 2 or part 3. One or the other. I can't remember.
Okay.
I didn't keep up with it.
Well, I did catch.
Because I get set and I don't keep up. Like, these actors come in and I'm like, yeah. You're whoever.
Yeah, lighting's good. Go.
Well, I thought it was a good cameo from Ed Neal from the first Chainsaw.
Oh yeah.
Man, he's a trip.
But no, he's incredible to work with. Incredible guy to work with. I think I've worked with him 3 times now.
Well, real quick, just circle back. What kind of stuff did they have you watch? What was the cinematic influences going into this?
So the funny thing is, they had a set number of movies. They were like kind of hoping that I would say. 'Cause, I mean, obviously they met me from Butcher Boys, but they still brought me in, sat me down, talked to me, and they said, "Okay, what do you see when you read the script?" And I just brought up like certain things and certain elements from Outlaw Josie Wales. I brought up, I went through the spaghetti westerns, and I brought up elements and scenes that I specifically liked. I also, what's funny? You brought up Inglourious Bastards, and I said, I feel like this needs a revival spaghetti western feel like you would see in a kind of Tarantino-esque way. And I said, but I would also, and I said, if given my druthers, I would, and this is, mind you, I didn't get a chance to do any of this, but if you ever get a chance to see The Good, Bad, and the Weird,
I have seen
Korean film. I love that movie.
It's phenomenal. I actually saw it. The director directed Arnold's comeback film after he was governor, Last Stand.
Last Stand.
That was kind of his big American debut. But I went back and watched some of his earlier stuff, and The Good, Bad, the Weird was kind of his big claim. That movie's crazy. Yeah, it's a really good movie.
I love that movie. That's one of my favorites, and there's a lot of it, a lot of stuff that's on the cutting room floor that I wish they used. There's a scene where we laid down, I think we had four sticks of 8-track plus a 4-foot, and I'm on a Fisher. We're using Fisher, we're using Chapman. We're using Leonard Chapman. Chapman Leonard. We're using Chapman Leonard dollies. Basically, I'm on the dolly. I can't remember which one's Pee Wee 3, maybe, I don't know. One of the medium-sized ones.
For our listeners, this is dolly track. This is basically think railroad tracks that are laid down on location, and then the camera is mounted on basically a dolly on those tracks. And I imagine you use that for all the horse rides. And
we did use some of it for the horse rides. What we did this one for is we had this whole line going straight towards this mound. At the very beginning of the movie, Claude's buried in a hole, and he comes up from this mound, and he's just firing away. Well, when I originally did this, I told them I want to do a smash zoom. And they were like, smash zoom? And I said, just trust me on this. It's kind of a new, it's kind of an old spaghetti-style Western thing that is coming back, that has been made new. We had these old...
You're talking about a trombone shot?
Yes. Well, no, not trombone shot. No. I'm talking the going in, like push in. I guess that is trombone shot, right?
Well, trombone shot is when you zoom in as you're dollying backwards.
No. Definitely not that. I'm talking about, you're
talking about the Charles Bronson eye shot in Once Time in the West, where you keep going to where you think the camera's going to actually like hit him in the face.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that zoom. So we actually had, I was sitting on the focus, and the lens is about freaking yay big off the front of the camera, right? It's weighing the thing down. I'm using it to control everything. I mean, it's huge. It's large. I would say, it's an old anamorphic. I can't remember which lens it was right now. But I'm sitting here. I'm holding this thing. My my cam op / AC. He's sitting there and he's like, okay, I'm ready to just crank this thing and zoom forward. And I basically got Dan Siegelstein on the back of this. This is, we called him the Muscle Jew. This guy's ripped as can be. Every day he took his shirt off so he could show off to all the ladies. But he would sit there, and here's my fat ass on the dolly, my cam op's fat ass on the dolly, and he'd be sitting there, and I'm like, dude, you got a lot of runway. I just need you to run, and I need you to hit it, and then I need you to come to a stop. And I need you to, like, bam, hit this mark. So he'd run down this whole thing, and at the same time, my cam up would slam the zoom forward at a certain point, and I would focus at a certain point, and we'd hit it, and we'd go in to this berm where basically Claude gets up, and we go boom, boom, boom. Like you could see it in stages. It goes 1, 2, 3, up to him pulling the guns out, pop, 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 pop. Problem being is the props would not always fire correctly. Every time we did it perfectly, the guns went pop, clack, 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 and they didn't work. And I was like, damn it. There's one good one, and I wish it lasted and made the cut, but it didn't. They only used like the tail end of it. And but yeah, that was one of my favorite moments in the entire thing. Also, the scene at the beginning where you go and you're looking at all the people. I actually got underneath the dolly in a tarp, and the sun's beating down one of the few times, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just kind of blindly pulling this focus with this weird lens flare that's coming at me, and all this dust that's kicking at me as I'm moving through, and they cut it and only use the last third of the shot in the entire thing. So, it's editing. They're like, hey, we got to speed things up. But that's majority of everything that landed on the cutting room floor are these things where I went and I'm like sweeping the camera over and I'm moving around, and it's stuff that I would love to have had. And Dwayne even said, he goes, I would love to have had it, but we were forced to cut.
Yeah, but you know what? Brandon? I mean, in their defense, I'll say this: it is a very disciplined film in that it's shot so traditionally. There's no handheld. It looks like it could
actually. There are handhelds. I just don't know.
I'm sorry. Very, very subtle.
It is. Yeah.
Without calling attention to themselves, handhelds. So I could see where maybe some of the more adventurous shots may have been a little visually out of place. I
had to have that moment where a director comes in and sits down and goes, he looks at me and he goes, now listen, story is king. Story is king. Because I know you want your big shot, and you want to be able to see this vista, and you want to look up into the sun. It's like, that's great, but story is king. And I was like,
damn it, man, the camera is telling a story.
One day, one day, I promise I will give you all of the shots you want to do. And I'm like, okay.
That day never comes.
What camera did you use?
The Red.
We were shooting on the Red Epic.
Okay.
At the time, it was the Red Epic had just come out, and we were using. We had a series of different lenses. I had to go through different lenses for different looks. We went as far down as the anamorphic Lomos, the Konas. I had an ingenue anamorphic that we played with. Really, it was all just depending upon a couple of ideas of where we were and how we wanted each thing to look. So I did jump around. If you notice, there's sometimes that there's weird lens aberrations, and that's when I just was like, give me the oldest, funkiest lens I can. And this is what sucks, is this is right before Cook released their anamorphics, and that's actually what I was hoping that we'd be shooting the movie just at the time that they'd release their anamorphics, and then they were like, no, we're pushing it back another 6 months, and I was like, damn it. So we went with more characteristic glass.
Okay. I like that term, characteristic glass. Well, my man, you should be proud of your work. You should be proud of the film. We are going to now cut you loose so we can spend the next 3 hours dissecting it scene by scene,
ripping it apart,
ripping it to hell, which I definitely don't want you here for that.
Oh yeah, well, I've done that a million times, trust me. One point I did want to share with you some point in time, just to tell you a little bit about the guys, just to give you an idea what these the guys that we're dealing with. there was I wonder if Justin's going to kill me if I tell this story. So this is a couple weeks before we're starting to shoot. We're already, this is between our location scouting, between getting everything together and trying to set our stuff up. We're driving out these railroad ties all the way out to Van Horn. Now, mind you, Justin and our UPM and a couple of other people on our crew that decided to follow along, they decided, we're going to go drinking. We're going to drink, and then we're also going to smoke a little bit. I don't know what they're smoking. I don't know. Don't ask me. But they decided they're just going to get a little wild, a little crazy, party a little bit. And they're like, Brandon, you need to stay with the truck because you're driving. So I get no fun. That's okay. I was okay with this because apparently we were driving right down this path that they pull people over periodically for checking for drug running and if illegals are coming over, all that fun stuff. We get pulled over. I'm actually starting to panic because here's Justin going, just hide everything, just put it in the under seat, whatever. And I get asked to step out, and it's apparently there's a taillight out in the trailer that's holding all these railroad ties. And Justin steps out too because he's the truck owner, right? He's like, look, it's my truck. And he goes and steps out. He goes, can I go look? He goes out there. The officer starts talking and goes, what are you guys doing? Giving us, asking every question. Really just kind of like looking at my records, looking at Justin's records, looking at everything. And Justin's just sitting there shooting the shit with him. And Justin's the kind of guy that he walks up and he just turns automatically into this charm, this fucking, I don't know, he can charm the shit out of anybody. And he looks right at the cop and he's just sitting there. He goes, you got a good look. You'd be an actor. You could be an actor. Like, just fucking charming him. And then he's sitting there and the guy's asking, what are you doing? He goes, we're making a movie. We're doing this. We're doing a Western. He goes, oh, yeah, I love Westerns. He goes, yeah, what's your favorite Western? And he's talking to him and he just sits there and he goes, hold on. He stops for a moment and he just lifts his leg and farts as loud as he can. And then without a beat, turns back to him and goes, so this is what we're doing. And then just is like scratching his nuts right there in front of him. And then goes to shake his hand. And I'm just like, it's the way he's acting it. He's just like, right there in front of the cop. And the cop's looking at him like, okay. And I'm just looking back going, I've never seen someone just like turn and like lift their leg and fart the direction of a cop. Just kind of like, oh, hold on, I got to fart. And then the cop looks and he's just laughing his ass off. And the cop just goes, man, look, you guys be safe out there. You need to pull over into this stop, get some rest. It's getting late. He goes, I wouldn't want anything to happen to you. I want to see this movie. And I had never, ever seen a person just work so much charm and magic to a police officer who, honestly, when he pulled us over, was just trying to find something. And that's something about Justin and Dwayne that what's interesting is Justin's that guy and Dwayne is the meticulous, like, he'll lock himself away and he'll edit for fucking ever and he'll drive himself nuts to get the absolute perfect timing and he'll get it down to a frame. And the two of them are so different, but you put them together and for some reason they become this incredible dynamic. And the entire process of shooting that thing was stressful, painful, it was scary, and it was nuts. And there are days we were asking, why the hell are we doing this? It's like that Rick and Morty episode when they both get in there and they're like, why are we doing this? Why do we keep doing this? I don't know, Morty. That was it. Every day. We felt like that. But something about those two guys, that every time they got on set and they talked to you, they made you feel like you're doing something really fucking special, really badass. And I guarantee you, this film better than the last one. The last film better than the one before. The next two that they have planned are going to be amazing. And I really highly recommend keeping an eye out for them. And if you get a chance, get them on your show. They're a lot of fun.
I will keep an eye out only on your recommendations, sir. You see, Tut, that's what a good DP does. They take every opportunity to praise the directors.
Yeah. Yeah, you launched that fucker's career, and you killed mine.
We need to edit that out. Did you hear that, Brandon? I'm sorry. This is why we don't do a lot of interviews. Usually it breaks down into a family spat, and now Tut's crying.
It's over.
Well, usually that happens at the 30-minute mark. This is actually pretty good for us. This is actually pretty good for us.
We're improving.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna touch base with you here soon. I owe you a beer, so let's get together next time I'm in Austin. Let's and Tut, you can come.
All right, yeah, I guess.
Let's get together. Let's talk shop and do this the right way instead of through these silly screens.
And I'll introduce you guys to a couple of craft breweries that would love to donate to your show.
Well, you know what? I don't make movies anymore. I'm a professional drinker, and
they're professional beer makers, so you guys go hand in hand.
My fan base
Got
has
your peanut butter and my chocolate.
Dude, I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate you taking the time, and you're a good dude. Everybody, if you are in the business of shooting films, and you're looking for a talented guy who brings not just, you can watch Kill or Be Killed, you can watch his reel, you can see a lot of what Brandon's done, but he really does bring something cool to a set. He's just a really solid person, and a really funny guy, and you said you had 6 weeks on this. We shot a movie in 10 days, and you can't do that unless everybody is a character of worth, and Brandon mixes talent with that as well. So seek him out. You got a website or anything people can go to, Brandon?
BrandonTorres.com. BrandonTorres.com.
There you go.
Also, my IMDb is imdb.com/Brandon Torres. And, I don't have Twitter. My Facebook is Brandon Torres. Anything. Brandon Torres. You just look for me. I'm the first one on IMDb.
Find him and talk shop with him and just watch Kill or Be Killed, because like I said, the things that worked best for me here, a lot of that had to do with you. So good work, my man.
Thank you. I enjoyed it, and it's got its flaws.
Hey, what doesn't?
We all say that.
Especially Tut. But oh my God, I said that out loud. But yeah,
we'll hear a little bicycle bell out there in a little bit.
We'll touch base. We'll touch base down the road, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks, man.
Guys.
All right, bud.
Bye.
Thank you, Brandon. What else? I want to do more of that next year. Get film folks on here, talk about the making of the movies we talk about. That's fun. I thought I'd be a lot more bitter since I'm not making movies right now. I like white knuckle it through those interviews, and was it? You only had 6 weeks to shoot. I think I did let that out. 6 weeks, huh? Never made a movie.
You did kind of go there.
I got to work on that. Craft services, huh?
10 pages a day, huh?
I promise I'll work on that. But
you had a gaffer, huh?
Hopefully, you at home enjoyed the chat.
Actually, no, that was me. I was like, oh wait, y'all had a gaffer on previous projects?
I think I've had a lot to drink, but I think you kind of said I ruined your creative spirit at one point.
Oh,
did he say that?
No, I said you ruined my life.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, well, that I'm used to hearing from various sectors of my life. Let's sum up the cigar. Boy, that spice came back in the last third. I want to talk about this, man.
Oh,
right after you credited him with man, you've changed. Look at you handling that thing like a boss. He stopped.
I'm out.
A little queasy.
Too much Lajero.
Too much nicotine.
Too much nicotine.
Couldn't handle it.
I could feel it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, the nicotine on this bad boy it's no joke. It really is no joke.
I smoked it down.
It was like it started up and then it went down. All of a sudden it came back up. I'm like, you know what? I feel it. I'm going to stop.
I smoked it down the nub, especially that spice coming back in the last third with that same fruity and earthiness and meatiness. I really like that adjective Tut came out with, the jerky. Man, I like that cigar a lot. Jacob's Ladder, find it.
Yeah, it's a toothy bastard.
Well, in a beautiful Pennsylvania wrap, usually with toothy, you think of this kind of marbled, veiny. That's another thing about this. The broadleaf wrapper I always associate with a lot more rustic kind of, Nica Rustica or Liga 9 or just kind of like big thick veins and just kind of rough looking. It's a beautiful, smooth. There's not a noticeable vein or on this thing. It's a beautiful wrap cigar, and it performed wonderfully. Like I said, not complex, but the flavors it did deliver, unlike anything else in the Southern Draw profile, and I really, really dug it. So, thumbs up from that.
No, you're absolutely right. It is unlike anything else in the Southern Draw lineup.
And I love it when brands, and kind of I'll give a shout out here to Saka as well. What they're doing with this FDA, where they kind of have to get stuff out there. They're not just getting stuff out there. They're getting some forethought into having their catalog in a rushed manner cover as many palettes as possible. Something for you, something for you, something for you. And between the Rose of Sharon and this, two polar opposite cigars, not only has Robert Holt showed himself as a blender, but how he's grown as a blender. But I mean, I don't think there's anything Southern Draw is kind of lacking right now. They got something for everybody, which is in a small company especially is admirable. Like you covered all your bases. The beer, wonderful, love it.
Yes,
I like it. Yeah, I will definitely.
Drink this all day. Well, I have been drinking this all night. It's good. Not too malty, not too hoppy. Just a really good sweetness.
Yeah, it's definitely in my profile. I like it a lot.
I surprised. I'm not. Pale ales are hit or miss with me, but man, this is good. This is really, really good. Great pairing partners.
Yes.
And the movie, check it out on Netflix. Then check out my movie Underbelly on YouTube and compare the two. See what you think. Tut, give us some links.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Go to Amazon for your Christmas shopping.
No, it's Christmas season. Go to our website. Hit the Amazon link and then do your Christmas shopping. And we get a little bit kickback on it.
If you're going to buy cigars, go to our website, click on the famous link, and buy your cigars through that. Let them know that they're hearing about you through us.
I often do that, and I'm wondering if they're like, "Oh, that's Tuttle. It's coming from his IP address." But no, go to our website.
A sale's a sale.
I was about to say, go to our website. Click on the link. If you're going to Famous Cigars, most of our cigar listeners, you buy from Famous, so go ahead and do that. You can also hit us up at Instagram, Tuesday Night Cigar Club, at TNCC_podcast. Mm-hmm. Hit us up on Twitter. You can do at TNCCcast. Obviously, like us on Facebook, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. And then subscribe to the YouTube channel because you're going to be seeing some cool stuff. Sometimes, you might see a TNCC logo or some pictures depending on my camera.
We're experimenting with some different cameras, and we've had some things. So.
No, I'll just go out and say our camera has been a war horse. It has been put through some unusual shit.
That thing has been sucked. It's suffered so much smoke damage.
And it's having some issues.
But
we got some things lined up.
Our voices are always loud and clear. Even if you can't see us on YouTube, you'll hear us.
Oh.
And regardless of the podcast stuff that you listen to, you might listen to it through iTunes. You might listen through it. I like Podcast Addict. That's what I listen to my podcast on, and we're on there. And I love Podcast Addict with TNCC. So yeah, just we're out there.
You can find us. We will have one more show this year. Our big Christmas holiday special.
We do a Christmas holiday special?
We're doing one this year.
Fantastic.
I got sick last year. I lost my voice. It was kind of hard to do a podcast without a voice. So our plans fell to shit last year. But I'm gonna drink my herbal teas and keep my voice
silky smooth.
All the greats. Axl Rose, the Robert Plant. We have routines. I gotta wear scarves.
The Garrison Keelers.
I think at one point tonight I said something about a Lake Wobegon trouser snake.
Yes, you did.
Maybe I imagined that. But that was six hearty beers ago. Yeah, we're going to do one more show. It'll be a doozy. We always tend to finish on a bang. So that'll be fun. So we'll see you then, huh? Good show, boys.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy belated Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
You guys recovered? You don't look recovered.
I'm not recovered.
You're not recovered at all.
Holidays are not my thing.
I know. But they're there, and we got to deal with them. So get ready for that Christmas.
Drink up!
Christmas extravaganza. We'll see you next time. Episode 64 will be our last of the year. So finish strong, boys. May the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Sayonara, motherfuckers.
To learn more about the one special summer I worked as a ranch hand and set a then world record for bulls milked in a day, I reckon you should read my anthology of tall tales from the West, entitled Field of Teats, my utterly fantastic and sticky summer vacation, by yours truly, Keith A. Howell. I am telling you, you have never seen more happy smiling bulls than the day Keith A. Howell strolled onto the farm. Those friendly critters love me. In the meantime, to learn more about the cigars and libations enjoyed on tonight's episode, you can visit www.southerndrawcigars.com and www.southernstarbrewing.com. For more on O'Brien's Irish Pub, the live music leader in Central Texas, please visit o'brienstemple.com and download their free smartphone app, where you'll find full beer listings including over 40 on tap, menu information, and a calendar of upcoming live events. To listen and purchase music heard on tonight's program, check out www.fritzbeermusic.com. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. This is Keith A. Howell saying until next time, friends, unless we see you sooner at the pub. So keep it smoky, and for God's sake, keep it ballsy as well. Seriously, if they're spooning, how can they be around the campfire? They could sit around it separately, but if all three are spooning, they would be on one side of the campfire and not around it. So that is not a thing.